Spirit of Film here. I have a special gift for you to spend your quarantine with. An imperfect recording for an imperfect film. Almost lost totally, I was able to salvage our first recording ever for the Fandoms Finest. As best as I could save the recording, it's still by no means perfect. Yet with so much going on now and so much time has passed, I look back on this recording and on those days with much fondness. And I hope it will take your mind off things and entertain you a bit before the realities of today set back in. Stay safe and enjoy the audio gift of the actual first Fandom's Finest debut.
We're finally here to discuss this rather small film that came out.
Yeah, little indie picture.
Exactly.
Sadly, that's kind of true.
Yeah, I heard Sundance gave it a bad review, and so everybody just said, you know what, 12%.
Yeah,
pretty
much what happened.
right?
I think.
But IMBD though, right? I just got to create an account there, and like several hundred. Let's tell the story here. I probably was the worst friend of everyone for about 3 months at the least, because every time an article came out, and Rated EDL himself is just like the man responsible. Because every time he would just send me a link.
So it's his fault? It's him to blame?
Yeah,
okay.
you seen that James with the new what is it? Was Spectre? I don't know if you've seen that one.
Haven't seen it.
Okay. You don't mind if I'll just spoil one little part?
That's fine.
Okay. Well, there's one of the villains that tells James Bond, "It's me. I'm the author of all your pain."
Well, that's not spoiler. That's in the trailer. So
okay.
That's fine.
I didn't watch any of the trailers, right?
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was Eric. And he does that with sports. Hey, see the 49ers going to trade Kaepernick? Hey, see Chip Kelly's your coach, and it turns out they're going to fire him. Like, they just hired him yesterday, man. But look at this rumor. So then here comes Batman versus Superman. He's like, hey, you see this article, man? Zack Snyder says he's going to quit the film. Hey, you see this rumor over here, man? They said Henry Cavill's going to get fired, man. Hey, you see this rumor right here, man? They said the movie's all about Batman, man. You know what I'm saying? No love for your boy Superman, man. You're going to cry in the theater. Just like egging me on. But even that, though, a lot of it was myself just worried that Bruce Timm animated series, just Batman grabbed, and Eric, he covered that in his top 5, bottom 5 video too. He grabs Superman, hip toss him across the room, and then if you pay attention, he pulls out the kryptonite afterwards. Superman just let himself get tossed, or Batman just is like, hey, you're my little girl here. Come here, get over here, right?
Right.
There's the great theme music, the great fanfare, dun, 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 and then Batman leaves the room, and he finds out who Clark Kent is, and he sees him from, I think, doesn't he leave like a batarang or something in there, and Superman sees it, right? And then he looks out the window.
Is he sees it and then looks out the window, and the Batman's being a peeping Tom, like, yeah,
and the music hits again, right?
Naked.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what happened. He was changed. He was changing, and then I have to rewatch it. But I think Batman was smiling. At the time I thought, because he's like, yeah, I know who you are, but maybe it's like, I like what I see there.
That's why they call him Superman.
That might be.
So all right, yeah. Now, what do they call that? That's something like Star Trek fans will do that as like the fan fiction. It'll be like Captain Kirk and Spock got married. Slash. It's like Batman Slash. Yeah. So I think, so when you're watching this movie and the Slash scene, happens in 3D, in the IMAX, it's a little, in your face, right? Kevin Smith wasn't lying about Ben Affleck, man. If you've seen Gone Girl, you know what I mean. Anyways, though, so let's get back on track here.
Okay.
Because I'll probably edit that out. But anyways,
I think we should leave in my peeping Tom line.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put that up just that little part just for you. Okay. Just a little smile on your face, Anyways, so this is podcasting.
From the Valley Floor in Central California, this is the Fandom's Finest podcast. With your host, the Spirit of Film, and today's special guest sidekick, the Scrapsta.
So I went to this movie wanting to hate it. I don't think anybody on planet Earth, I just don't think it's possible for anyone to have had decided and determined to hate this film going into it the way I was. Just from all the rumors, the marketing after Comic-Con, the Comic-Con trailer to me is the greatest superhero comic book trailer of all time. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But just after that, the marketing to me just took a cliff dive. And even some of the stuff that you would show me, like, so it's like you bought a lot of merchandise and stuff. Some of it was cool, but my reservation was, if I buy this Ben Affleck figure or this Henry Cavill figure of Superman and Batman, am I going to hang this on my desk? And every time I look at it, I'm like,
that
man,
movie, no.
Yeah, exactly. This movie sucked. This Batman just kicked the living crap out of Superman for no reason. That was the whole thing. All the rumors that this is all a Batman film. It's going to be Batman heavy. It's all about introducing him. And, even some of my friends I've convinced them, or I've shown them, I guess, my perspective, and even they're like, okay, I could get why too much Batman, making him too much of the best hero at everything, it just hurts Superman. And why is he there? It's a secondary character. So even they were like, yeah, I get it, but a lot of them thought, well, if he's got the Superman soldiers, then yeah, Superman, you read the Injustice comic where Superman becomes a tyrant, he takes over the world, right? So like, well, if he steps out of line, Batman's got to check him. But even that was just like frustrating me. Like, this is the second film to try to reestablish Superman. If they go that direction, I'm just going to pack up my little DC Comics bag, going to sell it, throw it in the trash can, and just walk away and just say, I'll be back in 10 years when you guys get your stuff together. And the movie comes out, and I'm sitting in the theater, and I just love every single thing about it. Just unbelievable how I reacted to that film. That was the wait period to that. I needed to be prepared. If I had to go to the theater one more time, Superman Returns, we'll talk about that another time. I mean, it was just such a bold face. What in the heck is going on here? And what was that all about? Like, when the film ended, I'm like, nobody's going to like this film. This film's going to make $200, right? I was just, stunned. Superman's a creep. It's like stocky Lois Lane, right? And then Man of Steel, my first reaction was not so good, but it was I need to see that again. And by the second time, I loved it, but I did see there was a lot of missed opportunities. So to go into a third time now, after 19 years of not having him, then Superman Returns, then Man of Steel, and then if he's just going to get his butt kicked up and down the town by Batman, and it's all that, hey, Batman's our best character, man. We got to keep him on top. That kind of John Cena pro wrestling thing that people talk about. That it was just that thing where a lot of people were like, okay, it's too much. It's just that's essentially is my feeling with Batman. And I love the character of Batman until he gets on that Frank Miller super a-hole, super Bruce Timm. I'm the baddest guy in the room. I'm gonna smack Superman, pull Superman through the portal, right, when they're fighting Darkseid, right? That makes no sense. Well, the leverage of the portal. It's really, this guy
out of nowhere, the leverage.
Yeah, out of nowhere, he's got leverage on Superman. And Superman's crying and whining, and Batman's like, "You're an idiot," or "Shut up." And it's I would not be able to stand that anymore. I can't stomach that. Just say you're an average fan, right?
Right.
And you're open to conversation. How would you like if Batman and Robin? How would you like Batman and Robin forever? You really are disrespecting my character. Right? It's so dumb.
Yeah, it would be pretty bad. I actually can watch that though, but not forever. I could watch it as this is ridiculous, this is stupid, but never as a serious Batman movie.
Boy, I tried. That's a tough watch, man. I tried getting through. It's taken me 3 weeks to try to power through that movie, man. That's tough, man.
Look forward to the Mr. Freeze lines. That's the good stuff, right?
It's not the lines; it's the scenery. The flipping his little slippers on the floor to the beat, right? I was like, oh my god, I still can't get over that.
That is pretty brutal.
That was my first facepalm in a movie theater ever. What? I mean, you're embarrassing me. I brought my family to see this. You guys are they're like, this is what you like. This is
the movie you want to watch, son.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah. I think all of that played to the fact I just gave up. Add all that stuff up, and I just gave up, right? And the trailers were all over the place. I couldn't figure out what's going on in this film. So I was just like, whatever they give me, I'm going to take it. And it better not suck, But that was my reactions. I think that was the big difference. I don't think you put all that weight on your mind.
I went the other way of positivity of this is going to be so great. This is going to be this and that. At the same time, I try to tell myself it might not. They might make Batman just wall up Superman the whole thing. Don't get excited, but I couldn't do that. I put it above. So when I left the theater, I knew I liked it. I thought it was a good movie, but I still felt disappointed after that first viewing.
And this is where my friend too, he mentioned this after we saw it. When you watch the trailers, the parents look like the worst parents in the world. Like from Man of Steel to the trailers for Batman vs Superman. Superman's parents look like they're the worst parents. They give him all this bad advice. But he said, in the film, it actually works. Like, you get what they're telling him. when that Comic-Con trailer came out, I'm sorry, and I've had this boiling for months. When she said, be anything they want you to be their angel, be their hero, be their monument, or be none of it. You don't owe them a thing. You never did owe this world a thing, right? That is the most definitive Superman line. And I'm sorry to the people out there, and they're popular, and they talk about, the parents, Jonathan Kent saved nobody. It's like, pay attention to the sequence. And it's also, again, I love this kind of film. The Godfather films, they reference real life events. They reference the Kennedy assassination. They reference Roman history because it ties into like the way they lead their lives is the mafia family, the Corleone family. This was Martha Kent, like Jonathan Kent, telling Clark Kent, Superman, the truth based on the world they live in, the movie that they're in. But it's also going past the point when people are like, I hate Superman. Superman's boring. Superman's worthless. Just, get rid of him. It's all about Batman. The X-Men are cooler. It's all about the Avengers. The guy wears chonies, underwears over, he wears his underwear outside of his pants. He's just, and a lot of it, there was a lot of hateful speech for a lot of years. There were a lot of people making references to Superman being gay, and they meant it in derogatory ways. And you can hardly get away with that stuff now. Thankfully, a lot of people, hey, cut that stuff out. It's not cool to be making fun of people like that. I heard a lot of that over the years. And it's just, this was like, to me, like a slap in the face back to all that. This character has gotten to a point, and he got to a point in the 30s. He doesn't owe you a thing. You don't like him, you don't go buy his book. You don't like that Superman is considered the greatest hero of all time? Tough crap. You don't like it, don't buy the book. You don't like the movies, don't watch them. You hate Chris Reeve, you think Chris Reeve's goofy, doesn't matter. There is a world of people out there who revere this character for what he can stand for. And that's the Lois Lane line, too. She's pulling it from Man of Steel, that she touches the S on his chest. This means something. He told her that in Man of Steel, right? He's struggling with that. But that's also, and that's in the trailer, too. This means something. It's all some people have. And it's true. Like, that comic book they did where Superman, he saves the girl from committing suicide, it's shared the world over by so many people. It's revered. That sequence, it's powerful. It's beautiful. And it does mean a lot. There's like this beyond, this character has gone beyond. He's almost real in that kind of mythological sense. And like I said, he doesn't owe you anything. If you're not entertained by him, you don't like him, it doesn't matter. But for some people, he's their monument. And like Lois Lane said, for some people out there that are, whatever they're caught in life, and comic books are the only thing that they have, this character is everything to them. So it's like that just, I don't know if you're a comic book fan, you're a fan of Superman like I am, man, I haven't felt that emotional about the character in forever, right? It seemed like a documentary would talk about that. But in this case, it's a movie and a worldwide, international movie that's made $1 billion almost in 2 weeks that's done that. And I saw the depth behind it, the depth that honors the freaking character after 30 freaking years. 30 years of being, the Dark Knight, living under the shadow of the Dark Knight Returns where Superman's a chump and he gets beat up because of it. There's some freaking respect here for him. I've dropped the mic, let you have it, sorry.
I don't know how I could pick up a mic like that. I feel like it's one of those things where I should just like walk up and be like, yeah, that mic's dropped.
Kick it over.
You did enough.
We'll do a video. The podcast ended early because he picked up the mic and dropped it for me. But
wow.
Passion,
man. Passion.
Do you disagree with any of that?
That's why I said it's like I feel it should just be like, mic is dropped.
So I guess we should get into the film, though.
Yeah.
Actually break it down.
I think so. Before I do that, no, let's go ahead because I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
I had like one more negative thing to address, but I forgot what it was.
If you remember it,
let's go on to...
You got the handy dandy sidekick.
Okay, that's what this is for?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And when I say sidekick, I don't mean the old sidekick. I mean, so you're the... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So, all right. Now, let's get carried away.
Okay. All right. Well, the thing is, okay.
And one thing I want to know, because I brought this up with my cousins the second time I went to watch it. I remember after I watched the movie, I told you, I was going over and I was like, I think, the last thing I said was, I think you're probably going to hate it. Now, I'm wondering, did that play any kind of influence to your reaction? Because I remember when I saw Man of Steel early,
yeah.
I told you, oh, this was great. I loved it, this and this. And then when you saw it, your reaction, like you just said, like you said before, it was not like, oh, this is great. It was like, what? Or kind of like disappointing. So I took like a calculated shot. I didn't want to say, oh, this is like so great or anything, because I wanted to, I guess, like start the bar low. Because I'll say this, when you said you went in, you loved every moment of it. I wish I had that viewing when I saw it. Because to be honest, when I saw it, despite all my best efforts to not get my hopes so high up, they were. And so for me, it took me a while to like after I watched it. Like, it was funny because everyone, like, I saw with a couple of my friends because we went to that trailer screening last year.
That's
so we
right,
got the advanced screening. They loved it. My brother, he was quick to rate it, but yeah, I was quiet. They were like, "What'd you think?" And I was just pretending I couldn't hear them because I didn't know what I thought. I was like, because. Just
because that's what happened with me on Man of Steel. So was there a little bit of fear, like if I watch it again, does it suck? Was it kind of like that thing, or
no? It was because I was gonna say I knew I liked it.
Yeah,
but that's what I found.
You just
weird
couldn't
about
rate it.
Yeah, I couldn't rate it, and overall this is the crappiest part. This is why I didn't enjoy that first viewing because I hate the fact that I came out disappointed after that first viewing.
Yeah,
but that's only because I had my vision for what I thought it would be. Very unrealistically high, and I knew that, but even when it doesn't reach that, then I was kind of like, a little bit disappointed about it.
I think that's the thing. I think the thing for me is I batch it because I have to tell the truth. I think the marketing after Comic-Con was abysmal, and so much of the marketing before that was just lazy. Like I remember you and me talked about, they put out those 2 posters. I think they came out with the trailer preview. For those of you guys that don't know, they did a good job with this. You were able to go online. You could get free tickets. You could go to an IMAX theater and watch the trailer for free, essentially, right? And then you got surprised. You got a little extra footage that nobody else got to see, and then you got a free ticket to see the show or to see the opening a year later, but a week earlier than everybody else as well.
Well, days earlier.
Well, yeah, okay.
They told us a week, but it turned out to be days.
Yeah, so, well, the thing is, it was, it's a week from Friday, but they open up on a Tuesday night now, and, they count the whole week as their opening day now. That's the Hollywood thing, but... So, those posters, they came from that, right? It's the Batman poster, and he's got a Superman logo. It's kind of etched on his face, but the Superman's, it's the same boring logo or the same boring photo of Superman from Man of Steel. No change, nothing. Literally just the same photo. They put a color palette on it and put Batman's logo over his face. And I also was like, you got to be kidding me, right? You remember me being like...
Oh, I remember, I'm pretty sure I actually complained to you first before you complained at me. I was like, I don't like it because I would have wanted the Superman one. If they told me, oh, there's going to be a poster of Batman and a poster of Superman, I would have been like, I want the Superman one. And then I look at it, it's like, the picture's from Man of Steel.
Yeah, it's a movie old, and it's like the Batman logo covers his face, right?
So it's like...
I think on Superman's, you could see Batman.
You can see, I mean...
It's probably the difference
in his eyes, basically.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's probably just the difference in the logo, but still, it's just, to me, it was just, like, lazy. Like, come on now. Warner Brothers treated this like, look, y'all gonna go see this. 30 years, some of you guys are always crying to us, you've been waiting. You're gonna go see it. So they didn't treat it like how it's like how Lex Luthor says, the greatest gladiator match in the history of the man. I couldn't believe the Pacquiao fight went on, and it was the fight of the century, and Warner Brothers had no kind of... Wouldn't that have been cool? Just a little tag at the bottom of the screen, right? I mean, I think they should have put Batman Superman on the freaking ring, pay the money for it. The fight of the century. Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather, Batman versus... Like, freaking go all out with this marketing. But they didn't do that, so that's like part of the thing going into it was the reservation for that. It's just the rumors that got to me about it. Again, just like people were just like, yeah, it's not so good, it's not so great. Somebody else compared it to The Force Awakens, which that one really shook me up because I'm like, we'll talk about that another time on a podcast, but, he basically made it sound like, okay, I can't give away spoilers to you guys, but it's The Force Awakens in that, yeah, it's not going to be spectacularly great. You won't call it the best movie ever made, but all the nostalgia factor, all the coolness of seeing that universe again, right? That's the same thing here. You see Batman, Superman, that nostalgia you had, that's what's going to make it for you. And I'm like, well, that's not good at all because there has to be something good in this movie besides just like, hey, there's Superman, hey, there's Batman. Have you settled on a rating, say out of 10, or are you still?
I'm still. I think I'm pretty settled at a 9 on it. 9? Yeah, I really did like it. There were some elements to it that I was like, well, there's a few elements. It's funny because my brother, he gave it. He went a 9 when we first saw it. So like I said before, then after watching again, he went to like he's either at an 8.5 or an 8. But that's because of his love for Superman. And it's not even the outcome of the fight or anything.
Yeah. So he went from a 9, and then he saw it again, and because of his love for Superman, he felt it was uneven-handed and dropped his rating down to an 8.
Yeah, he dropped it to it's an 8 or an 8.5. I'm not quite sure about it, but his are little like tiny character things that to some people, they might not care. To general fans, they might not care so much. But because he's such a Superman fan, those things bother him a lot. So it's like, so he...
Now, was he the one... Did you text me? I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. Was he the one that you were like, he thought it was more of a Batman film?
No, that was my cousin.
Okay, your cousin.
He had that reaction. One of the first people that I found out that liked Man of Steel but hated this movie.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you did. And he felt it was a Batman film, and Superman was going to have a co-star to it.
Yeah, and he hated Lex Luthor.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to hate. That's another thing too. Is like I wonder if that, like you said, that carried over for me, because my love for this film is so great that I really truly don't care. This is the first film ever I can say this about. I don't care about any critics. I don't care what anybody else says. That's something new for me. I just love it unapologetically. But I also do understand those, like, I understand people are not going to like that. They're not going to like this, right? Like, I've accepted that. I should say accept, when people say Lex sucks, I'm just like, okay, whatever. A lot of people didn't like Lex, So, did he elaborate more on why he hated it, or was he just like, I hate it, I don't want to talk about it?
No, he would go in hardcore at it, but it was mainly with my brother, and unlike you and not caring about it, all of those things, they bothered me, so I tried to tune it out, because I didn't want to hear it, because then I get worried about the big picture.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's not going to hurt my enjoyment of the movie.
Yeah.
That does not bother me one damn bit, but it bothers me, and like, I guess they're already talking about right now, they're doing reshoots for Suicide Squad to try and make more fun.
Yeah, the rumor is it has to be funnier, and
Right, and for me, that's what concerns me about the...
When you see that trailer, which they play... I don't know, did you get that trailer in IMAX? Yeah. I don't know how much more fun you can get than that.
I was
so
gonna say,
what are they going for, right?
Right, and it's things like that, like... I don't know. To be honest, I wish... Again, this is another... I wish I could do like you were doing, but... The critics and all that stuff, it bothers me for like so many reasons.
Yeah, well, I think so. It's affecting you in that you're worried about the future of the universe a little bit,
right? Because and it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie in terms of like the big picture. Like, I've seen it where people won't see it because of the critics.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like oh no, it sucks. I'm not gonna go watch that.
Yeah,
it's terrible, and it's like. I don't know. It's just annoying.
See, that justifies... I heard a complaint about that, too, and people have talked about that. And that kind of justifies it for me, because I was like, I don't know if that's true or not. With that, they were saying, the critical reviews, they say some people believe it shaved off $100 million from the opening, bad reviews.
No, I fully believe that's the case. I believe if it wasn't... those reviews weren't terrible, I think this would be a no contest to winning this year.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not right now. It's not winning, and I think that's not because people watched it and didn't like it, but because people didn't give it a chance because other people said, "Oh, this movie no good. This movie's no good," and then on top of that, and this is the funny part. I feel like, have you seen the sad Ben Affleck?
Yeah, the sad Fleck. Yeah.
Right. I do feel bad for him because this is a movie. A lot of people, there's people that didn't go to this movie because of him.
Yeah.
So. Or didn't go because of him and the fact that it's terrible. I heard, so why go?
Yeah,
and it's like, but he's awesome in it. A lot of people will say, even amongst the bad reviews, they'd say that he's good, and a lot of people are like, well, he might be the best one. He might be the best live action Batman. I don't know if I'd give him that just yet, but But yeah, it's like that, and I feel kind of bad for him because here he goes. He proves people wrong if they actually watched it.
Yeah.
But because of the negative reviews and the people's original prejudices, they
and that's the thing too. What bothers me is the sort of I don't know if politics is probably not the right word for it, but I've seen a lot of very popular reviewers that absolutely give other films, like take Star Wars for example, right? They will talk about there are three scenes in that film that they despise, that were horrible, that were awful. And one of them is a critical scene towards the end that is huge for the Star Wars universe. They thought that scene, they blew it, it's terrible, they ruined it. But I still love the film. And like they just like have this 10 out of 10. Like, I don't understand how you can take whole scenes out of another film. I understand Star Wars is like a religion, right? But there's other films out there too, Deadpool's like that. A lot of people are like, I have serious problems with A, B, and C, but I just give it a 10 out of 10, it's so awesome. And then Batman vs. Superman comes along.
A and B, this movie sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a problem. Well, it's not even that, though. It's like, I have a little problem with this, tiny problem with that. That could have been tighter. This could have been better. 3 out of 10. What the freaking... I don't understand that at all. And I really don't like to talk about those guys much, but you are right, though. And especially if you tell me that you've heard... If you know people that have heard then, like I said, that kind of rung a bell...
Right,
in me. Not to quote Lex there, the bell has been rung for me now, and it can't be unrung. But yeah, really, that's...
It's just one of those things, like I said, because... Like I said, I see the article, the rumors are doing suicides, doing reshoots, and already now you're putting that into it because of reviews. And I hate the idea that, I mean, if you actually pull back and look at it, this movie's doing pretty good, especially worldwide.
$700 million in 10 days.
Right, exactly. This isn't whatever, but the negative reviews and all that they'll, unless Suicide Squad keeps things even for the year, they'll look at this movie as like, oh, this is where they effed up, and it's like, they didn't. It's a great movie. I mean, seriously, it's just that for whatever reason, and I know one of the reasons I've seen it where they talk about, like, I have another friend who didn't like it.
Yeah.
And his reason, like, he said, oh, they don't put any character. Why do you care about these characters?
Yeah.
It's like, they don't give you a reason to like Batman and this and this. And I can see that. That's true. They don't really give you a reason other than, it's Batman. That's why you like him. You're here because you like Batman, right? So that's why, it's one of those tricky things. It's what they talk about where he makes the movies, or Snyder, he makes the movies for the fans. He doesn't put in this extra, like, here's why you should care about this character of Bruce Wayne. No, it's like, you're coming to see it because you care about this character of Bruce Wayne Batman. And so you have critics who will watch it and they'll be like, there's no reason to care about this guy.
Yeah,
and then that becomes a thing. And then the people that read their reviews, or they don't even really like read it or like really understand it. They just see
the headline and the ranking.
It's crappy. And I just found this out because I was talking about it when you sent me that text of where Kevin Smith changed his mind.
Oh god, yeah.
I told him I saw like headlines and I was like, yeah, he was like tearing it apart and this and this. And my brother stopped and was like, yeah, no, he wasn't. I was like, what? He's like, he wasn't tearing it apart. He just said he had problems with this and that. And he even came on something that's like, I don't know where you guys are getting this. I didn't say this is like...
So that's what it was. That's what I didn't even read it. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was...
So he
had issues with certain parts, and then that's what gets out.
It was overblown.
That's the headline. Kevin Smith hated this movie.
Yeah, he's trashing it, right? I saw it all over the net. He's trashing it. He turned on his boy.
Right, well, I'm not sure. Maybe he did change it, but I'm just going off what my brother said. He's like, he was saying, he wasn't saying he hated it or this and this. He just had that issue, and he's even been pulling things and like on Twitter, like, hey, whoa, you guys are misreading what I'm saying here. I have a problem with this. It's not like this whole thing is crap.
I mean, here's the other thing too. You're talking, you've kind of tied Man of Steel to this perfectly because, like I said, my reaction, how I went to this film, but Man of Steel is the film that made me just totally give up on all critical reviews.
Right.
Because there's some stupid drama that played out who gave the film kind of a bad review. Right, so sort of it's not that good, right? It's kind of disappointing.
Right.
And then he came back. It's like everybody else is being too harsh on it. Come to think of it, the film is actually really good now that I think about it.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, it was something along those lines, right? And I was like, how there's so much politics being played. People took their stand. And then a lot of them saw where everybody else was bashing the film. And they took a different stand. In even in defense of it, even if they say it's not a 10 out of 10, but it was a 6, maybe it's a 7. You guys are crazy. I could easily rate this film, and it was just it just reeked of just hypocrisy and politics, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or whatever, but it almost seemed like some people were like, yeah, you know what, we'll go ahead and do this, and then, oh crap, there's a story here. You know what, let's go at this again. Let's revisit. Unusually high negativity. There's almost like the point of animosity towards this film, and we don't see this film as being deserving that lower ranking. And it was just such a disaster, and there's so many other things to talk about with Man of Steel. I think I just kind of got fed up with it all. So I really stopped paying attention to all of that. I haven't read any review. I wanted to do this stuff with you and the reactions and whatnot before I even started looking at the people I trust online. Before I even saw their reviews, I didn't want to hear all that stuff, and make me start thinking about all these different things, right? Because I've seen the film, saw it last night to be the 4th time I saw it. It's remained the same. It hasn't gone up or down or whatnot. All right. Well, the thing is, okay. So again, here's, and we had even the wait and all the people talking in the line, all that stuff. I just somehow it just zoned naturally, just tuned it all out. I was just zoned out. Got into the theater. I had some fairly bad seats. I saw it on a huge digital screen that they just built this theater here. It's huge. It's like a wide screen for a wide screen on a movie theater, right? It's incredible. And, again, my initial reaction, I just love this freaking film, everything about it. Went in wanting to hate it, went in wanting to despise it. And the opening starts, and I'm just like, here we go again. Ben Affleck, Batman gets the voiceover. I will say this, though. To this day, that opening model, I don't know what he's talking about. I'll just be honest with you. Even 4 times I've seen it, still makes no sense to me. You're going to have to help me with that. I have no clue what he's talking about, right? There were things in the sky, and then some things fell, and then I fell, and then, beautiful eyes and pure things and perfect things, and what is he talking about? So I was a little bit pushed off, again, by that, because I didn't understand it all. In the funeral scene, I was like, whatever. Oh, here we go. It's all you hear. This is the Batman show, right? And then I think what did it for me is the music cues up the second the frame changes to the parents being, and we're going to super spoilers here, so if you guys don't want to know, tough.
Why are you watching?
Yeah.
Why are you listening?
Yeah, so anyways, the music cues up, and it's the Wayne family, young Bruce Wayne with his parents. They're walking out of a theater. And I don't know if a lot of people caught this, too. Because a lot of people are like, they changed it. It's Excalibur, right? Because 1981, to make Affleck, the age he is now. Right. 1981, his parents are killed. They left watching Excalibur. But I don't know if you watch along the side there, the posters for the Zorro films are along the wall. That's the original. Then in the Batman mythology, that's the film they were leaving when his parents were killed. So Snyder.
I think he left from watching Zorro.
Maybe you're right. Maybe screw Excalibur. They were watching Zorro.
I could have swore that they actually had it along with Excalibur on the
yeah, it's on the wall there
on the walls, and so I figured Excalibur was there to kind of give you the time frame, and then I figured it was still going to see Zorro.
Well, there you go. See that? There you go. You just made it even better for me, right? It went up 0.5%. No, but I mean, so I saw that, and I'm sorry, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It looks so dang good, and the music starts to just pull you in. And Zack Snyder went back to his slow motion. And I'm like, it's just beautiful. And something flipped in me. I literally just my weight in my chest just flipped, and I leaned back in the chair. From that point on, watched the movie, and I just was just eating it all up. But yeah, it starts off with the parents being killed. I haven't read all of The Dark Knight Returns in a long time, but there are some strong references. I thought, in my mind, I thought I could call back to some almost exact frames that he borrowed, the pearls especially with the gun. Right. Bruce, the killer, walks up. It's not like the Chris Nolan films. This one just kind of takes place, almost no sound at all, except there's tiny bits of sound, and it's all audio, and the killer walks up to them. He points the gun at the family, and it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays Thomas Wayne. So you've seen him in Watchmen with Zack Snyder. I just love that guy. He's a great actor, and he's got nothing to do really, but he nails it. He just nails it. He just stands in front of the family, and then he curls up his fist to swing at the shooter, right? And you can hear the leather just kind of
I do love that sound.
Tighten up, yeah, and it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, so you're like, a little part of me is like, oh, comedian about to throw down, right? You almost want him to win, right? So people talk about that, who cares about these characters or whatever. It's like, like you said, it's so dumb. Are you kidding me? Seriously, like why? Why do I care about anybody in Star Wars? Right. Especially in Star Wars, none of those characters, most of the film is not my original characters that I love, so why would I care about these guys, right? I mean, I don't know why I care about any of the Marvel characters, because, outside of Iron Man, for me, I mean, none of them really work all that well. I really don't care if they die or not. So all the Marvel fans just turn off the podcast.
Yeah, now you just lost.
We lost half the audience now, so there's only one guy listening now. But anyways.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you mentioned right now you don't know what Ben Affleck's talking about, kind of listening to what he's saying, but I'm more like looking at everything.
Yeah. How many times have you seen it?
I've seen it 4 times.
4 times. You've seen it.
I plan on going.
You're going to be going. You're just going to leave here the podcast to go see it. Yeah. So, well, pay attention this time, because you could try to help me.
Sorry, be like, what the?
Because I still don't. He's like, there was a time before there were perfect things.
There were perfect
things. Fall.
I think he's just talking about like when he was a kid.
Yeah, golden absolutes.
Things were great. That's one of the first things I want to bring up or ask you about. So the change. Here's the thing, and I think this is the first time where they've done it where Thomas Wayne actually tries to do something about it.
Fights back, yeah.
Right. What were your thoughts on that? I know my brother, he did not like that.
Yeah, somebody commented to my friend on YouTube. They're like, they ruined they couldn't even do that right. And it's so dumb. He fought back, and he didn't act heroically. That's the part I don't get. They're like, the other Batmans acted heroically. Let me tell you something. We'll have to talk about this then, because you brought it up. Batman Begins is one, we always argue about this, right? Because you just can't believe I rate Batman Begins to be the best of the Nolan trilogy.
That's absurd.
Yeah, I put Batman Begins right behind the first Burton film. Those are my two favorite. Or for me, those are the two best Batman films ever. Although there might be this film we're talking about here. Maybe it'll take the spot here. We'll let you know by the end. But anyways, that I always had a problem with Nolan's scene. There's something about it that doesn't play right. It's too quiet. Something about it just doesn't play perfectly. And then it is absurd how oblivious his dad is. It's okay. It's okay. They drop the wall, right? It's okay, that's fine. And he's like, don't be afraid. Like he's almost giving a lecture to the killer, like, don't be afraid. Like the same way he lectured to his son, right? And then he gets shot, and then he's just like, Bruce. This guy's shot, bleeding out, and he's like, Bruce, don't be afraid.
Right. See, I would kind of disagree on that. I mean, I get the whole, trying to, hey, he sees the guy's like desperate or like whatever, so he's trying to be like, hey, don't panic. Don't kill us. Yeah. But without drawing any extra panic. So I got that. But yeah, the Bruce, even my brother said, he's like, I did like the Martha that's in this one, where he's like, Martha.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, hey, Bruce, don't be scared, man.
Yeah. So they don't,
I'm dying.
And believe me, I'm not bashing the Nolan film, because like I said, obviously, I tell you how much I love that film.
I think my brother had an issue with on this one was in regards to, he just didn't like the idea of, and he went to swing at a man with a gun. It's like, okay. I could see that issue. I think what maybe they should have done is maybe, because you don't really see the guy. Yeah. You just kind of, you see his back and you see him pointing the gun. You don't see the
They did a very good job.
Or whatever.
Sort of what they call a faceless killer.
Right.
Almost. You see him a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. And so you don't know why would you just think, I'm going to punch this man who has us at a disadvantage? I mean, if maybe the guy was like the same kind of shaky kind of guy that was in Begins, then yeah.
You see, here's how I took it though, and I took it. This is how, again, it's in that moment, it's defining the Thomas Wayne character. It's also defining the Bruce Wayne character, because this is a much more aggressive Batman, a much more aggressive Bruce Wayne. Even to the fact when they get to the scene, everybody's seen the trailer, right? Don't believe everything you hear, son. His son's Clark Kent. And a lot of that's from The Dark Knight Returns. In fact, I think that exact line, is from The Dark Knight Returns. But like, to me, it's just like, it's a Thomas Wayne who's more aggressive. That this guy is, he's got a gun to my family, and to like I said, to the disadvantage point. Well, it's like in Batman Begins, he gives him the stuff, and the guy shoots him anyways. But I just loved it because it was a different take on it. It wasn't so, I don't know. I think the Batman Begins father, Thomas Wayne. And again, I love it. That's the actor, Linus Roche. I love that guy. He played Bobby Kennedy. He's a great actor. He did it well. It's just that scene is a little off to me. He's just too passive-aggressive, I think. And so this Wayne, I thought that helped define everything. I don't remember exactly. I think Martha doesn't try to fight, but I think she tries to like kind of move her or kind of get in the way of, maybe she's trying to get to Bruce or something. Something moves her, because that's how the gun winds up. The gun winds up entangled around her pearl necklace. So, and again, Zack Snyder it's him and his director of photography. This is just beautiful visuals for me. Like,
I was gonna say, that's one thing that it's like I find funny, disturbing, and just
it looks beautiful.
It sums up Zack Snyder's his way he shoots films. I'm sitting there thinking, who would think a close up of a gun?
It's a major major criticism for Zack Snyder.
It's a beautiful shot, and it's weird. I would never think I would think that, but the way he shoots it, it's like that's I think that's his forte, that a lot of people they just don't like it. They can't swallow it. That Zack Snyder will make the ugly look pretty, look beautiful. And so but I mean, and the thing about it is too, is like, you're watching it and you think this is gonna just be, here they go again, the parents killing and everything. They're just doing it all. A lot of people said, don't show it again. We don't need to see it again. Right. But like, again, it's done in such a beautiful way. He pulls the trigger, and the trigger is what shatters the pearls and sends the pearls flying. And that's your image. You see, it's Laura Cohen from The Walking Dead plays the mother, and she falls. And then, I mean, and again, it's not over the top though. I don't see people's complaints, because he shot her in the face, as far as I can tell, or at least in the throat. And you don't see a big bullet hole and blood splatter. And that's the thing with people like Zack Snyder. A lot of people, he's a fascist filmmaker. He loves blood and gore and guts. It's like you don't do that. You see the blood spots on her face to let you know she's been shot. Her eyes dilate. She's dying. And then, like you said, it cuts back to the father, and the father looks over it. It's sort of a kind of Citizen Kane moment. Some of you guys are film buffs. That last scene, it's a legendary scene. It's a close up on the face of
the actor Orson Welles, and he just says Rosebud. It's sort of like that, and Thomas Wayne is like Martha.
I just want you to know you're about to get people who will be like, I can't believe you just compared this.
Oh, trust me, if you think that's bad, you don't like the way I compared it to the Orson Welles, you better stay tuned, because I'm gonna take you down some paths, boy. I am the Dark Knight Returns Batman in this one. You guys listen to this film. If you hate this film, boy, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm the surgeon. You're on my operating table right now. And I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it, folks. But I just thought it was so beautiful. And then that funeral scene comes back into play because Bruce runs off into the forest. Right. And it sort of reminded me of Batman Forever. And he falls in the cave. And I think those same shots are in Batman Forever. He's running, and I think, of course, there's one lone bat in that one. I remember that flies. But this one is Bruce Wayne. And he's in the cave of bats. And did you think to yourself, oh boy, this is like Batman Begins all over again? They're going for that whole thing. Bruce Wayne. After a moment, they flutter all around him, and he starts to stand up. And I thought, oh boy, are they going to do the Batman Begins thing all over again? That's a little...
I thought they were going to, and then I was like...
what's going on? He's lifting off the ground.
Alfred to like be on the other end. I thought, oh, great shot. Then turns out, no, he's flying.
Yeah.
And then turns out it's a dream, so it's all good.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. I loved it. It's beautiful. It's cool. Like he's floating up in the bats, and he's sort of twirling through the bats, and the music is so freaking epic.
I love that moment because the music just swells in. It's like, oh. Here's another thing that I found. It's just kind of be jumping all over because little tiny things here and there. The scenes that I love. I love the fact that when he first looks up and he sees the bats, their eyes are shining red.
Yeah.
It's like, I love that. It just makes them seem that much
more animalistic.
Right. And then,
and you know what? Remember, they had that whole something about Save the Bats campaign during that. I wonder if Snyder was like, let me give some tributes to my bats here. You know what I'm saying? They're probably computer generated, but you probably studied a little bit on what bats would look like in a cave. That seems like something he would give his special effects team direction to do that. But it's cool. Like I said, a lot of people too, they say, well, it's like a what is it? They're like, it's like a scary movie or like a horror film and frightening. I'm like, you understand, this guy has to go through so much stuff in his life that he decides to dress up like a bat. He could live the rest of his life like Leonardo DiCaprio, with supermodels on islands as a billionaire playboy. And this guy decides to dress up like a bat and have everything around him, batarangs and bat planes and batmobiles. Some serious stuff has to happen in this guy's life to push him to that point, people. But if you're in a dark house and there are bats flying everywhere and this dude is hung up on the freaking corner of the wall there, so that's the other thing. Like, there has to be that scary element to sell this character being, the knight, the terror, the dark knight. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, everything about him should be scary.
Yeah.
I think, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's why he's dressed as a bat.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be scary. So, make it so it's scary. Show little things that are like, this is why.
It's creepy, yeah. It's just like...
creepy man.
And I'm not bashing the Nolan trilogy, but I was saying the other day, compare that to Nolan's Batman. He scares people with his voice. Where are the other drugs going? That can only go so far. And in the Dark Knight film, they cover that, right? That, hey, everybody's up to your act. You got rules. You don't kill anybody. He's holding Falcone. He's doing the whole intimidation game on Falcone. And like you said, your gig is up, man. Right. So this Batman, he has to, or excuse me, Esmeroni. Yeah. Sorry, Falcone's lost his mind somewhere. But anyways, there has to be, that's the other thing I love about this film too. At some point, Batman has to evolve. And that's what Alfred talks about too: new methods, new tactics, right? Even though this Batman, he's at the end of his tether, he's getting off course there a little bit. But anyway, so from that opening scene though, it picks up. And they basically recap the climax of Man of Steel, but from the perspective of the people on the street and the perspective of Bruce Wayne, who we find out he's landing from his Wayne chopper into Metropolis at the moment the World Engine is about to collapse the Daily Planet, essentially. So when the Daily Planet falls and Perry White and those guys are running out, U.S. military planes are crashing everywhere. That's the point where Bruce Wayne is cutting through the streets of Metropolis trying to get to Wayne Financial Tower. I mean, how did you take that scene? That was just something else. It blew me away to the point where it's like, all right, I'm down with this film.
Well, yeah, I love that part. I always love little things like that where it brings a new element to other movies. Like, I love the idea of before you even see it, okay, Bruce Wayne is aware of it, he exists, and now we actually have proof because there he is.
Yeah.
And so now he's aware of this stuff. So that's cool. But then to actually see it, and it's like, and here at this point, that means when this is happening in Man of Steel, you can kind of picture somewhere else. Like if you're watching Man of Steel, you can now kind of go back and be like, Bruce Wayne's along
when that's
over the
when the Kryptonian spaceship Superman brings it down. Krypton had its chance, and he crashes the ship. They were literally crashing over the top while Bruce Wayne is driving to try to turn into Wayne Tower. And then you see the plane. Then when I saw it too, I was recounting Man of Steel in my head. So when the plane crashed into the Black Zero spaceship, I was thinking to myself, a good death is its own reward, right? And Feora is on the, he just, the military, whatever he was, military colonel just crashed the plane in. And then, so you get to see all that from the perspective. And that scene was so good in the trailers. And it's even better in the theater that Bruce Wayne is there. I love that when the World Engine gets sucked in to the Phantom Zone, essentially, the shockwave shatters the windows and just even the car window that Bruce Wayne is he's in. He opens the door and it shatters the window right out of it all. Like everybody, it's just so so cool. I know a lot of people didn't like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, but I've talked to a friend of mine that's a very underrated film. I watched it again for the first time in years, and it's so good. There are little things like that really just are amazing in how it's filmed. And so, like I said, you thought that Orson Welles was bad? Don't worry. I'll get to more Spielberg in a second. But that was very reminiscent of, like, this is how, again, people say Zack Snyder, he's a horrible director, all his movies suck. Well, this is the kind of stuff that I've seen in a Steven Spielberg science fiction film. The crowd reacting, the shock wave, there's collateral damage, the way the windshield shattered, little details like that just made it really interesting. And then he runs into that collapsing, cloud. It was awesome in the trailer. It's just even better in the film because you see the full, he's desperately trying to get there. He's on his way there. And, I don't know if this is supposed to be I don't know if it was intended because he sounds more like Ben Affleck than anything at that point. The way he's talking, he just sounds like just Ben Affleck acting in a movie. So was this a Bruce Wayne who was semi-retired at this point? He was getting back into being Bruce Wayne. He sounds kind of more, I don't know if anybody else caught this. He sounds kind of more like a normal Ben Affleck voice, right? And as he's getting through the city, trying to get to his guys in the building, he's slowly, you could see it on his face, he's slowly getting angrier and angrier, he's getting more worried, and then his voice starts to deepen up a little bit, where he's just like, what's in the, Jack, oh my God, the building's collapsing, and he just takes off running, and we know the imagery, it's 9/11 imagery, there's no way around it,
right.
But it's just such a beautiful moment, and it's executed so well in the film. This guy will run into a collapsing building where everybody else is gotta run for their, for their lives, is a superhero, even though he's human. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to run into that rubble. To me, it's an emotional, stirring moment. And it goes white for a second. And again, this is the part where, and I'm sure a lot of people are not as morbid as I am. But I should also say that I do a lot of writing, folks. So I do a lot of research. But I have studied a lot of what happened after 9/11. That was very eerie, a little creepy. I could see why some people were put off by it. But that's essentially what happened to a lot of people. They were just walking around this kind of mist, this kind of gray fog. And they're like, things are silent, and a horse walks by him. He almost can't. It's almost like he's in, like when somebody goes to the afterlife in a movie and they're in that white cloud. It's sort of like that. And people are walking by, they're covered in dirt and grime, and they're just like they're walking around like zombies. Very 9/11. And then he gets to one of his employees. He's got his legs, cut off.
You know what? You just blew my mind.
What's that?
When you're right there and you just said that it's like when they go into an afterlife or whatever. I just right now thought, wait, is that what just happened? Bruce Wayne's talking and he sounds pretty much like he's just Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So that happens. That's essentially the death of Bruce Wayne all over again. Now he's in this afterlife looking at things. What is like the main thing he sees when things clear up? It's the shot of Superman and Zod coming back down.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the look on his face of anger. Basically, here's the death of Bruce Wayne and it's Batman again.
There you go, folks.
Boom,
right there you go.
I literally have some chills going right
now.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's the thing with Zack Snyder films. Watchmen is weird for me because I watched it and didn't really understand it, but I liked it. The second time I watched it, I was blown away. The third, fourth time I watched it, oh my God, it's a masterpiece. It's amazing. I watched it again recently. I'm like, it kind of sucks, right? Like his films are very weird. I'll give him that. There is that you do need, in my opinion, you need 3 genuine watches of a Zack Snyder film to take in all the little things like that.
I agree.
He packs a lot into it.
I think anybody, this is another issue, and it's kind of my issue with him, is because I'm usually able to take it in and be like, all right, yeah, but you get a lot of people who will go to that one, they won't know what they saw, and then they just say what it sucked.
Yeah, well, you know what?
They give up on it.
I gotta admit, though, like I said, Man of Steel, the second time I saw it was in IMAX, it was amazing. But it's a lot to ask of somebody to pay $18 2 or 3 times.
That's what I say. That's my issue with Snyder is that his movies kind of require you to see it more than one time, and though that's great, if people aren't people come out of it like giving up right away, they're not going to pay that.
See, now you made me feel like a genius. You blew my mind a little bit too, because I didn't look at it from the death of. I thought that was something that took place over the rest of the film, but I did take into account that he changes in that moment. See, that was communicated to me, that he goes from Bruce Wayne, and then, like you said, he saves a little girl. She's going to get, the rubble's going to fall on her, so he saves this little girl. And, where's your mommy? There's another, that to me is the strongest 9/11 comparison in the movie. A lot of people, you don't have to be morbid like me, you remember there was a section of the building that was still kind of half standing and smoldering and burning. Right. He looks up, and that's where he sees Wayne Tower. The little girl says, that's where my mommy is. And, and it's just so smooth. This is smooth Affleck here, though, and he just kind of gives her a hug. And then, like you said, another perspective of, a Superman from Man of Steel. That's when the thunderous roar comes. That's when him and Zod come crashing down.
That's when they're about to fall into the train station.
Yeah, they're going to fall into the train station for the ending. Right there. The look on his face, that anger, that sheer just, and like I said, that might be too much for some people. A lot of people don't react well to it. I understand, a lot of 9/11 references. But there, were a lot of people that, that said that day. We were in high school in California, and I remember classmates of mine had that Bruce Wayne face. I'm just mad, I'm angry, punching the desk. They wanted to do something against somebody, and just, you want to retaliate. So you could see, now again, here's Batman, he's on a whole nother level. And it's so good, too. It's a nameless character. You don't know who it is, except Jack. But, again, I give this guy so much credit, because that scene could have easily been such a throwaway. But something about the way that guy, he just says, Father God, creator of heaven and earth. No matter what you believe, you see somebody who believes that, and that's the way they choose to go out. Something about it is stirring to me. So you see Superman get knocked into the building, because that's the building Zod throws him into. Right. I don't know if you noticed this, but the color on Superman is way different. He got some color on him. He almost looks like Christopher Reeve bright in some of those. Like when he gets knocked into the building, you see his red boots, the red cape. When they come back down from the sky, the way he's holding Zod, it looks better in Batman vs. Superman than it did in Man of Steel. He's got you see him and that's Superman. I mean, I don't know if you took it that way, or if you were just...
I think I would agree, but I think there's a reason for why it looks better, and that's when it happens in Man of Steel. It's all more like in chaos or whatever. This one's a clear, decisive. There's Superman. Yeah, and so you get to focus on it's there he is. It's Superman.
Yeah, he comes down. Yeah,
right. And
now,
I liked it.
Did you like there were little title cards, so it'd be like Metropolis, right? The day the world was introduced to the Superman.
I actually love that line. Yeah. That card. I don't know why.
The world is first introduced to the Superman.
The world is introduced to the Superman. Yeah. I don't know why. I just really like that card.
Yeah, he has those at the beginning, and then there's another title card that says 18 months later. I kind of always cringe when I see those in movies. Yeah. That was one where I was just like, But see, I hate that in every movie. It's not like, it's in Batman vs. Superman, so I hate the whole film. No. I hate that in every film, but... It took a long time to get this film out, so they're trying to let people know, they're trying to inform the audience, especially the general audience who, I wasn't into Man of Steel, not a big fan of Superman. Oh, Batman, Superman, I'll go see it. So I thought they were trying to inform the audience. I hate them in every film 8 months later. That's J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films are like that. They're like Earth, 25 years later, Vulcan, Utah, San Francisco. Yeah. Pier 39, San Francisco. Enough already,
I got concerned that was going to be through the entire film. Luckily, it ends. I'm pretty sure it ends at that.
Yeah, I don't remember it anywhere else than that. But yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people will start to have their complaints about the editing and the pace of the film. It took me to the fourth time to bear. That's when I could start to. Okay, I could kind of see maybe where people would complain, but again, the people that say they don't like these kind of things, they're always crying out there. Hollywood's so predictable. It's so unoriginal. Why don't they do something different? I want to see a filmmaker do something different. I'm on Twitter. I follow a lot of writers, a lot of screenwriters, a lot of independent directors, a lot of successful directors, and they're always saying, hey, man, do your thing. Do it the way you want to do it, right? Look at Brian De Palma's Scarface. That film does not flow perfectly. It just does what it wants to do and takes you on this ride. It doesn't flow, say, as beautiful as like a John Ford classic Western. It's going to have these wonderful transition scenes and everything. It just tells a story. And everybody's always saying, be original, be different. You don't have to follow a trend. You don't have to follow, what everybody says. Do what you want to do in a film. And here Zack Snyder is pretty much doing that with this film. People are like, it's disjointed. It doesn't make sense. The editing is bad. It jumps all over the place. Yeah. And so So I guess this is where the complaint will start, because you go right to the Indian Ocean. That's where the other world engine was in Man of Steel. So the ship has crashed. Some kids, again, everything about the cinematography is beautiful. The scenery is good. The music is cool. It builds up because they find this looks like a kind of, I don't know, like a giant oyster rock underground, and they crack it open. There's kryptonite in it. Cuts to the African scene. On its arms dealers, Lois Lane in the middle of trouble. This caused a little controversy for you, though, right? You didn't like.
This is the first issue that I took, and not at the theater. I didn't care in the theater when I watched it, and overall, it's not huge, but it is at the same time.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard for me to. So it's funny too, because when they first show them and they pull Lois and the photographer out, my first thought is honestly just the way he's dressed and stuff. I was like, is this Jimmy Olsen? But then they never call him Jimmy Olsen, and then he's CIA, so I'm like, okay, I guess not. It's like whatever. And then I come to find out, you look at the end credits, he goes down the list.
Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen. He is that guy, and it's like, wait. And see, I don't really count this. I don't know if this really goes towards the movie, because I don't really count it towards the movie. It's more of I think, a criticism on Zack Snyder than the movie itself. Because I can watch it, and, I think, okay, fine. It's just the idea that Snyder thinks this is a great Easter egg. How is that a great Easter egg? I'm not saying, you can't kill Jimmy Olsen, but if you're going to kill Jimmy Olsen, have it matter, not just it's some throwaway guy. You don't even know he's Jimmy Olsen until you look down the credits, and it's like, wait a minute, that's Jimmy Olsen? So that's I don't say it is an issue against the movie.
Yeah, because it plays in the movie. You don't even.
Yeah, you don't even.
It happens so fast. You don't even know he's Jimmy. There's really nothing kind of to it.
When the thing was, when I actually first saw it, I still didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
Because when I first saw Jimmy Olsen was in it for a while, I even thought maybe he's the photographer that Clark asks who Bruce Wayne is.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, is that Jimmy Olsen then? It wasn't until later I was looking it up, and then Zack Snyder said, oh yeah, Jimmy Olsen was our guy at the beginning, and that made me like, what the? Are you kidding that you think? I mean, my brother's already mad at me found Jimmy Olsen was in it, because it's like, you don't put Jimmy Olsen as just some random side dude who's like, if he's in it, he should be in it.
And, and the thing is, too, it's like, and I remember you said that, you texted me, and that's the first I'd heard of it. And then my brother texted me not too long afterward. My thing is, I get what you're saying. It's like, that's kind of a dumb Easter egg. Hey, I put Jimmy Olsen in the film, blew his brains out. Somebody else pointed out to me that in Red Sun, the graphic novel Red Sun, it's a book where Superman landed in Russia, so Superman became a communist hero instead of an American hero, and tipped the Cold War balance to Russia, obviously. Jimmy Olsen's a CIA spy, and apparently he gets killed the same way. For me, even again, I'd be honest with you, I really don't care. Again, we totally flip. All of a sudden, I become the positive guy, right? But for me, it was like, okay, even if he did that, he did it with some kind of like a nod to a comic book that exists, that's fairly popular, like, and because there are some other references that the way Batman is dressed in one of the sequences later is very, very much out of that graphic novel. That's my thing with Zack Snyder. It's like he's trying to give fans something to chew on and say, yeah, you may not like it, you may disagree with it, but at least I did it for you with a little bit of flavor that's from the comic book. I give him a little head nod for that. But like I said, it goes by so fast, and Superman, again, this film, man, freaking love it. Why do I love it? Because Superman is not a chump. When they describe him and talk about him, they talk about him in cool ways, right? Because characters.
Stop you real quickly, because I gotta jump back on and be like, you mentioned the whole like Snyder gave it a off of Red Sun, and like I said, I wouldn't have a problem if you did that. But the thing is, I have to go back and read Red Sun, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy Olsen's covered in more than just a CIA agent. That's my issue, is the fact that he treated it as a major character from the stories. And first of all, you made a movie, we don't even know that that's him until you read the credits and you recognize the actor, and it's like, wait a minute. Or you read afterwards and it's like, wait a minute, that was Jimmy Olsen? That's my issue, is just that he treated a major character such a side. Easter egg, this is the nameless guy who gets killed.
Yeah. That's
my issue. And I already told you, like, the main reason for me isn't necessarily linked to that. It's more linked to Nightwing.
Yeah, which is this boy. Nightwing's boy.
Yeah, it's
Nightwing.
He's like number 2 for me in my heroes. It's Superman, Nightwing, Batman.
For the uninitiated, Nightwing, that's the Robin. When Robin breaks away from Batman in the comics, he takes on his own persona, calls himself Nightwing. So there's actually more than one Robin, for those of you guys that don't know. There is a Robin in this film that's referenced as being dead. So that's what you're like, I'm worried now. Maybe there was only one Robin.
Right.
And he, in his world, he'll merge them all together and then just say he's dead.
It was just that Robin, and it's like, it would be... See, this one is one that, just from a character standpoint, that would be like, it sucks, but I'd be able to be fine with it. It's just the issue of, again, the big picture, and it's like, you see Nightwing merchandise being more now than before. A lot of merchandise being thrown out there, and if that's the mentality of like, just, then you're wasting...
Yeah. See, as I said, we're going to find out here pretty soon. It's like I said, we were completely flipped almost in a lot of these regards. The way I went into the film and then the way we both came out of it. Like I said, because I saw
almost, because I came out loving it still.
Well, yeah, not the film itself, but the film itself for sure. But like some of the our thoughts on the universe going forward.
Right.
Let's go recap this again. Because do you agree with me though? When Superman, he flies down, it cracks a thunderous crack in the sky. He lands like a bad son of a gun. Gives that stank face to the arms dealer who's got a gun to Lois Lane's head, holding her hostage, and you take a step, you're going to see the inside of her skull. He kind of makes his face like, I don't think so, buddy. Right? Lois...
And the only time he lightens is on Lois, and that's...
Because Superman, in the blink of an eye, you can't even track it. You don't see it. Just the guy disappears, and like 7 walls behind him collapse. Superman took that mofo through a building. The scene from there, I believe it cuts to a congressional scene where they're talking about
the ladies explaining.
But again, even when they're talking about him, they're trying to set it up. The people that the people are anxious and worried about Superman being in the world existing. Period. Again, the way they describe him, they don't just call him the blue boy or the overgrown Boy Scout. They're like the sky had cracked open. Even when they're talking about him off screen, they're giving him some love. He sounds freaking cool. But they set up obviously this panel that, not unlike what you see in the real world, something goes down and they hold a hearing. It sort of reminds me of there was an old Star Trek film where they were like, the Federation, all you do is talk. You have Federation opinion polls and Federation debates and Federation council meetings. That's kind of what the U.S. government is doing because we're so helpless to do anything for Superman.
This is actually brought up in the movie too.
Yeah,
that part.
Yeah, so Lois Lane's very worried about this. So she's having kind of taking a nervous bath.
Lois Lane reminds me of me in regards to the critics in the movie.
Oh my!
That's how it seems. So she's like all worried about
Did not have to put that image in my head. Now I picture you with it. Now forever. When that scene happens, Lois Lane's in the bathtub. It's see you in there. Henry Cavill's bringing you flowers. Hey, it's okay.
No, I'd be cool with that.
I brought you flowers and cook you dinner. Listen, don't worry about it. She's worried about the congressional hearing, so she's in the bathtub. And no nudity here. You can take your kids to see it. But anyways.
It's close, though.
Yeah.
Very close. I never thought I'd see that much Lois Lane.
That's bad advice. Maybe there's a lot more stuff that happens. Maybe you shouldn't take young kids to see this movie, not just because she's...
Third time I saw it, third time or fourth time, I don't know, there was like a little kid in there. No, he wasn't there. He was leaving. Yeah. They were leaving. Okay. And he was just like, that movie was awesome.
Well, there you go. It's a different generation, folks.
Boom.
Yeah.
I also know somebody that took their kid to watch Deadpool, so.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is when I was in my sort of more negative mode.
Right.
But I wasn't trying to be negative. I was just trying to make a point. He was saying it's okay to have different variations. You can have Marvel. You can have the classic, Christopher Reeve stuff. And you can have a serious DC universe now. And that wasn't my problem. My problem is give us something charming. Charm doesn't have to be, good evening, Miss Lane. You really shouldn't smoke,
Are you criticizing that right now?
No, wait a minute.
Okay.
Because don't tell me, right? She said, don't tell me, lung cancer. Oh, well, thankfully, not yet, because Christopher Reeve Superman, X-ray visions Lois Lane's lungs, and her lungs are clear, so thankfully, not yet, right? Little things like that are just so charming to me. I watched they were on TV, so I got to see all the original Christopher Reeve Superman films. I even saw Superman Returns. I saw all the Superman films prior. Turner Classic, actually. I mean, you can go back to the 30 serials I got to see. So I didn't plan this out, but I got to watch every version of Superman before, and I remembered Man of Steel pretty well. Before I think I watched it the night before too. So I have everything fresh in my mind, and that's all it was, just charm. A film like Heat is as serious as it gets. Michael Mann's films are serious. A film like Collateral is deadly serious. And Tom Cruise is charming in that movie. There are some sequences where he's got, when he's like, listen, you kill the guy, just let me go. I won't tell nobody. He's like, really? You promise you won't say nothing? No, I won't say nothing. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Get in the car. It's just like it's a serial killer, but it's like there's something that makes you like him. He's a serial killer hitman in that film, and you like him. Michael Mann, Al Pacino, De Niro, all those guys are deadly serious, but there's charming things about them. Man of Steel did not have enough of that for Clark Kent especially, and for Superman. And Henry Cavill can act. That man can flat out act. I've seen him in that show, The Tudors. This guy is criminally underused in every movie he's ever been in. He's still underused in these movies, but this freaking movie got it right. They gave him some stuff. And he just kills this scene, in my opinion. He just makes it so great. He comes in, he looks so charming, so unassuming, right? And you see it right off the bat, he brought a bag of flowers for Lois. That's what I wanted more of that in Man of Steel. When he fights, there's a villain in Man of Steel. She's a Kryptonian warrior. She throws him through a building. She's been talking a lot of crap to him. And then she says, evolution always wins. And he looks at her, and I remember I got on the edge of my seat. I'm like, he's going to say something really cool back to her, right? And, and he just doesn't do anything. He makes a face. He makes an angry face, and he screams, and he punches her through a wall. And even my brother was making fun of me the other day. He's like, I remember you thought this scene was going to be like the greatest scene ever. Like this scene was going to establish Superman for a new generation. I'm like, yeah, and he says nothing the entire time. He just grunts and screams, and then when it's over, he just says, thank you, and flies away. Such a missed opportunity. He doesn't have to be Spider-Man or Iron Man. He'll do that, and he did that in this film, and as Clark Kent, just so charming. I don't care what the media says, I'm protecting you, and then Lois has her little moment, I don't know, can you love me and be Superman? And what does he do? You know what? Screw it. Just jumps in. He's fully clothed. He jumps in the tub with her, splashing water everywhere. He takes a rose and gives it to her, right? And it's incredible. To me, it is the best Clark Kent, Lois Lane moment since the Donner series. That's how long it's taken to get something good like that. And yes, Smallville fans, you're offended. And good, because I don't like Smallville. I can't count that in what we're talking about here. It's a separate universe television show. Okay. But we're talking the movies, right? So
you have offended me, sir.
Yeah, so we're talking the movie. Yeah, I know Smallville became Metropolis like in season 5, and then it had Lois Lane in it and stuff. I just haven't seen all of it, so I really can't comment too much on it. I don't know. Did you love that scene as much as I did?
I do, yeah. And what's great about it is that it's not I know. It's just the look on it, the look and the nod of like, yep, yeah, you're gonna flood this. Mm-hmm. The way he does it's fun when he does it.
I know, and the glasses. Here you go. Again, come on now, communicate. You remember film school. You know how to communicate through film and video. Y'all should know what happens when you see the sequence. It ends the scene. His glasses you just see the floor, his glasses get thrown on the floor and water splashes on the floor. Come on, kids, you can put 2 and 2 together. Again, like I said, I was already sold from that point on. Oh, it's the Batman scene, too. I'm ready to hate.
Goes the Batman.
Ready to hate on Batman because, here we go again, Batman. All right, this is where I'm going to get into this territory. Who I compared it to Citizen Kane earlier, right?
Right.
I'm going to give you something else here. People be mad at me. Open your eyes. I'm like the guy telling Bruce Wayne, open your eyes, people. This film is awesome. What's up?
The guy doesn't tell them that.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's writing on the... Anyways.
He's not. Okay, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Okay, I'm just saying, though. I don't know if you noticed it looks like a bunch of people, they're held in a basement underground.
Right.
And the girl is from Gran Torino. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. She's the supporting actress in that film. The police come to save these people that are chained underground. They look like they're, prisoners, like when people get kidnapped and they get sold into, human trafficking.
Yes.
So, I love this. The cops go to let her out, and she pulls the gate back. She doesn't want to be set free, right? No.
Still here?
Yeah, and there's subtitles. So she says, "A devil saved us," and then she says, "No, the devil's still here." And she points up, and the police are like, "What the?" And so they go up and they find this guy's torture tied to a water heater. I saw this, and there was a twang in my pants. Basically, this guy, Zack Snyder.
You had a problem with my comment? Jesus.
So anyways, listen, Batman, when the police officer twirls around, Batman is hanging from the ceiling, and he's perched up in a corner, and the way he's hanging, he looks like Count Dracula from Francis Ford Coppola's, Dracula film, the Bram Stoker's Dracula. I thought to myself, this is just he's holy crap. That would scare the crap out of me if I saw that. That looks insane. And you don't even know how he's holding on to the wall. Like, holy, if you saw that, if I walked in the garage and saw that hanging on the corner over there, I'm just going to die of, just panic. What the, holy, and the way he comes down, but the way he's hanging, listen, it's on Netflix, it's all playing on TV right now. Go look up that film. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest directors of all time, maybe my favorite director ever. He directs so many scenes in that movie where Dracula is just hanging around like that, slithering around the castle, hanging around and when they come to hunt him down, he's with Winona Ryder, right? He drops down like that freaking man bat. I mean, that kind of filmography, that kind of cinematography, holy freaking crap. And it's just a split-second scene. This is how you're introduced to Batman, how you first see him. And the devil, the demon, I think they had the Demon of Gotham was one of the little advertising campaigns for him. And then the guy unloads his shotgun and Batman just slithers out of the room. Like, that whole sequence, people are like, I had a problem with it. They're caught up, and I don't know what they're caught up in. You get to see him make his way to the Batcave because he's talking to Alfred about stuff, and I'm sure, you really liked Affleck's performance. I thought Affleck was good. I thought he was really good. I thought his Batman was really good. I'm not on the he's the best ever bandwagon. I'm not ready to say that at all. I can't say that now. But there's enough of him that's great in this film that I want to see more. I will buy into seeing much more of this character. He can become the definitive Batman, in my opinion, for me. I'll accept that if they get to that point. I don't think he got there here, but there was enough of that. I mean, so you have thoughts like how the scene when you first saw him and then he gets to the cave to talk to Alfred. I mean, how did you take all that? I loved it, obviously.
I thought visually it was a good scene. This is just one of those things where it goes back to, for me, I might have cut it out. Just there's nothing wrong with it. It's just when you look at some of the complaints people have, this is where the critics come in to bother me or whatever. Is one of the things, it's too long, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, that scene might not be necessary. I mean, it's a great introduction to him. You know, takes off, slithers across. You see his cape kind of scramble across the roof.
It sucks out like a little hole.
Slithers up. That's real cool, but that might be one thing that, if you're trying to cut things for time, I might cut that one. But I loved it individually.
I heard people talk about that too. And again, my other perspective on the film is, like I said, I try not to. If I sit here and say this is what I would have done, this is what I wanted to see. Well, go get a career in directing, go direct a movie. It's tough to break into the industry. I know that story. I know a lot of guys that are pros that have had films produced and made, and they're still struggling to try to continue to make it. I try not to over-criticize that way. But here's the other thing. That's the first time you see Batman, then you don't see him for a while. So if you don't see him there, you're not going to see him until, I think, the midway point of the movie almost. Because he shows up again for the chase scene.
Right.
And so I think that was the other little thing, too. The Batman, he's working. I also think there's something else to the story here. I don't know a lot of people realized it. He's trying to find this guy. Basically, he's trying to find this guy who's helping Luthor bring in the kryptonite. Because that pearl is kryptonite. Luthor's bringing it into the city.
You don't know it yet, though.
Yeah. They do a lot of subterfuge. There's, they're talking about this white Portuguese guy, and he sounds like he's a drug trafficker or a drug dealer or something. So they're playing that little angle, and it slithers around. And that's my other thing with the film, right? Like I said, you see that scene, other scenes, and people say, well, cut this or cut that, or this scene was pointless. Like, no. Everything is following a track here. It's not just scenes thrown at the wall just to be there. I know the Avengers, right? There isn't a moment where he's like, that man over there is playing a video game. He thought we wouldn't notice, but we see him playing a video game. Like, I watched the original Avengers film. It's like probably easily the most baffling moment for me in the entire Marvel cinematic. Why is that even in this film? Like, what? Cut to something else. What is that all about? And then they cut back to the guy and he's playing the video game. That's not in this film. Everything that's on the film here plays a point. Or it serves a purpose.
I have to disagree with that. There's one scene where it's like, I don't see the point of that being there. That's the first dream sequence. I don't see a point in that.
What was the first dream one?
Where he visits the grave, and then the bat pops out at him.
Post-traumatic stress to an extreme level. But this is also something too that I think is so brilliant about it. I don't know if people realize there's something that plays into the end of the film. There's a name that's very critical. That is your first chance to see that tomb, to have the name on it. So it gives you something to cut back to, but also you understand there's some serious post-traumatic stress that is to an extreme level playing on Bruce Wayne. He's seen it's the tomb of his mother, Martha Wayne, and there's blood dripping out of it.
I get the point, but as we kind of just I don't know if that's going to make it here, but we did already discuss there. There's already he's dressed as a bat. We get there's a lot of stress that he has. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's a necessary scene in there because. Well,
and the thing too is and again, people that have seen the cartoons and stuff, I've always seen them reference him having dreams and nightmares to have to do with the bats, and that type of thing. So I thought that was interesting. Now, whenever he has one of these dream sequences or he has one of these PTSD moments, the sound of the World Engine that destroyed Metropolis from Man of Steel, it's in the background, so it's that kind of whooshing sound. It's very so gently in the background. So it's like there's a lot of that tied to that. Because he has other dream sequences in the film. or so we think they're dream sequences. There's a dream within it. They go Inception. There's a dream within a dream, we think. Now that, to me, see, that's where I say, I think there's two things at play here. I think part of it is his PTSD, but like, say a film like Rambo, right? They cover that he's got, that problem from Vietnam. But Rambo doesn't have PTSD about parademons flying through, Vietnam and killing him and his buddies. He just has PTSD of what he's gone through. There's something else leaning on Bruce Wayne in this film. I think the film is hinting heavily that, because this is DC Comics kind of mythology, that one of the major villains, the Darkseid villain, and in my opinion, right now, it looks like he's focused on Bruce Wayne. Plus, there's also, we're getting really complicated in DC Comics history here, but those dream sequences, they also hint at there are alternate realities and alternate possible futures that can take place. In DC Comics, what they've done is, instead of saying, hey, this is one comic book about Superman and Batman, that's it, they'll say there's 100 of them. They're all their own story. They exist in what they call a multiverse. So it's just a different dimension. You've seen that like in Star Trek or Back to the Future. There's an alternate timeline. So that's how they handle it. The sequence, one of the characters who pretty well established, it's the Flash trying to travel back through time to give a message to Bruce Wayne. It could... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so are you of the belief that the second dream sequence, which is the one where it shows him on the ruined Earth and all that, are you of the belief that is in fact not a dream sequence and it's kind of an image from another timeline possibly being sent into him from the Flash, basically kind of coming through time to reach him at that point?
See, here's the thing. Because, you and me could sit here, we could spend 3 hours talking about what Coast to Coast, AM live radio talks about, conspiracies about, do alternate dimensions, do they seep into your dreams, what are waking? We could sit here all the live long day. It could be any of it or none of it. And that's what I love about this film. That's the other thing that people talked about. I saw this recently. They were talking about Conan the Barbarian. There's a lot of scenes in that movie, they just sort of happen. There's no explanation. Like the way Conan finds his sword, you don't know all the answers. It's sort of a mystery. And again, I've heard people for a long time, we've lost the mystery in film and they don't do that anymore. This film gives you a ton of mystery. And it could be any of those things. And this is my point where, like you were saying, you're worried about the Jimmy Olsen thing. When I see a film that gives me these great imagery, the main point you're supposed to take away is that Bruce Wayne is struggling. He's struggling with what's going through his head right now. Whether it's the Flash talking to his mind from the future, whether it's Darkseid toying with his brain, whether it's post-traumatic stress to the extreme. He's got some problems right now. That's the big takeaway, and that's what I took. That's how I took. But there's paying so much respect to Batman and Superman throughout this film, in my opinion. That's like, I'm okay for it all. I understood it. I don't love Injustice. I don't love... there's another alternate timeline where... Flashpoint Paradox. I don't love those stories because it's my favorite character. My guy, Superman, he's turned into a villain. And, of course, as such, everybody in the freaking universe has their hand in kicking his behind all over the freaking map. And, of course, Batman is leading the charge against him. It's sort of like Superman's become Darth Vader and Batman became Luke Skywalker, battling the evil empire, leading the rebel forces. It's going down that road of things. And then...
Doesn't really.
Well, I'm just trying to make a comparison.
Right, I know. I'm just going to spoilers for people who haven't played Injustice.
Okay, well, the video game's different. Don't spoil the book, though. I'm only into...
the story ends in the book. This is all preview.
I'm not done yet. Okay. I'm not done yet. So don't, yeah. I'm only on the second one. And then Flashpoint, I hated I have not finished reading that one either, but I hated the movie because, again... Oh boy, Superman gets turned into like this. Oh God, I didn't even get into the thing. Just like he's just he's just this great character, and they just do nothing with him. And I know a lot of people are like, how can you say that about? I'm sorry, open your eyes, people. Bruce Timm and his universe, 90% of the time, it's all about a love affair with Batman, and Superman gets the worst end of it. There's another one. It's such a great film. It's Justice League Doom. It's such a great film, and Superman goes to save the day. They're talking about Superman. And I think Cyborg's like, he won't get there in time. And Batman's like, he will. He'll save us. And Superman just fails. Just up and fails, and it's up to somebody else to save the day. Why did you even try? You suck, bro. Go home. That's just the way they make this Superman. I was so impressed by the way they treat these characters. I'm sold. I'm a little bit nervous, if they go down the road and just make it that simple. Well, he's the bad guy, and, I got to slap some sense in him. Okay, sure, I'd be worried again. But they've done it with such respect in this film, in my opinion. Even the Jimmy Olsen thing, they have bought such credibility for me. They can screw up 2 or 3 things now going forward. All right, I'm in. I'll give you a pass. I get the sense you probably disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, I can't give too. It's like I said, the Jimmy Olsen thing. It's like, don't hold it against the movie. Fine, that's whatever. It's just it raises an eyebrow for me to Zack Snyder. That's all. It's like, I don't know. I don't know about this. If that's your idea of a cool Easter egg, is a non-named role getting killed off in seconds, that raises an eyebrow. Like I said, another thing for people who don't know, if you guys paid attention to any of those rumors or whatever, there is a rumor that among those graves at Wayne Manor is Richard Grayson. So it's rumored that
there was a gravestone somebody took a picture
of Dick Grayson's grave, and apparently he was an old man too. My other issue comes the first time you see Superman doing things, like heroic things.
The montage.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, gotta go there.
It's a small. It's not even because I love that scene, and at the same time I don't love that scene because it's just I think there was a review that I think said it best as far as I'd go on there that said it's like if you're getting a tour of a theme park but you don't go on the rides. That's how I kind of take that montage.
Wow.
Where it's like, no, because if you go on a tour of the theme park, you're not going to leave like, well, that sucked. It wasn't a negative thing. It's just like, yeah, because it's like, if I were to go to Disneyland, someone took me on a tour of Disneyland, I would leave like, oh, that was awesome. But how much more awesome would it be if I was on it?
And see, I'm over here like, I rode every ride in the park and loved it. I rode every ride in the park twice and loved it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing for me, you see, oh, there's the girl trapped in the burning building.
Yeah.
How did you get her? There's the boat. He has it. You don't see here. He shows up to save those people. You don't see him do.
Okay, that was a little weird because he's just hovering in the sky, and I'm like, water is getting to it's getting to the roof there, guy. You might want to hurry up a little bit.
I don't know, but no, that's just like I said. It's I love that scene because it shows Superman doing all those things, and it's great that he's doing Superman things. It's just kind of I would have loved to at least have one part in it where you actually live the moment, kind of thing. Yeah, you don't live the moment in this. You see that he did it.
Yeah.
And I don't see that necessarily as a bad thing.
It's because
just, I would rather have more.
Maybe for me it's because we got nothing like that in Man of Steel.
Right, and that's the thing. And I think that's why I love it. Is because you established that, which was not established at all in Man of Steel. So it's great that here he goes. He's doing all these things.
He has like 2 montages somewhat in Superman Returns. They're both pretty awful. So the voiceovers too, everybody talking about him.
I do love, like I said, I love that scene, and I don't even know necessarily that scene is an issue, or if this is just a prime example of something I wish they kind of had like gone in and done like a live in the moment kind of thing, where you don't really see him doing those things where you're living in the moment. You see the results or that he's gonna do something about it. But you don't get that moment of him flying into the building, pulling the kid down. You don't get the moment of him saving those people who are on the rooftops.
And that's why for
that's
me,
like I said, that's a small thing because I love that.
Yeah. But there's just that little.
Yeah, there's that little. If only they had, like I said, it would be like if I was at a theme park and they said, "Here's all this stuff. Oh, that's all great. That's great." I would leave happy. I wouldn't be like, "Oh man," but I'd be more happy if I were to go on, look at it, and then get to ride it. So that's kind of how the best way I would think to describe that is like, it's great. This is awesome seeing all this stuff. It would be more. I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if you get to see him do all those things instead of here's what he did.
Be honest. You just wanted Superman to save you off the building, huh? You want to ride the ride for real. Like Christopher Reeve, right? One ride for a customer, right? Probably because of the way I went into it. But I still think, even with a lot of the negativity that I had, even when the film started, it just seemed like so many scenes, the conversation. In fact, it's embarrassing, but I don't care. I love it. I love this film. I was in the drive, and it was a long wait. And I was playing the soundtrack, and that song came on. The music from that scene came on, and I was thinking in my head. I was imagining: are you, as a United States Senator, prepared to say, Superman could have saved your family, but on principle, we would not let him act? And I started crying in the drive. I was crying in the freaking drive-thru. Like, that is such a good scene. My God, must there be a Superman? Well, there is. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking crying. And the lady opens up the window and she's like, hi. Oh, hi.
She catches.
Yeah, she caught me crying. I was like, here.
Oh, Jesus.
Here.
That's great.
She's like, is everything okay? I'm like,
it's great. It's great.
I'm good. I'm good.
Just
But I mean, just like
everything's fine.
And look, that's why this is obviously DC's more serious, and that's why for me, those films hit. And then you pay tribute to Superman, you pay tribute to Batman. There's very few moments in this film that I can think of where they just get handled. I mean, unless it makes sense, Batman runs for his life when they fight Doomsday, but he has to because he can't just take him on.
Oh wait,
what's that?
This is one of the other issues I had with the movie. That kind of led me to the disappointment with Doomsday.
Oh,
how they handled him, but it's just there's something that, like my brother pointed out. Oh, that might be why. I didn't dig the extra powers that he had, the explosion.
I
didn't like that. My brother pointed out what it could have just been was give a reason why Batman cannot get near him. That might be exactly what it was.
Count me baffled. Count me baffled by his extra power. Yeah, but I will say this: using General Zod, I don't know if people realize that the first time he lets off that blast. And I caught this all 4 times. It's the same way. I don't think I misinterpreted this. When he first lets off his first blast of energy, his eyes light up red, and he makes the same gestures of pain that Zod makes in Man of Steel when he first lets his heat vision go.
It's like
it's essentially a mutated version of Zod.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to that scene then. The one in the one that made me cry, because that's embarrassing.
That it made you cry, not the scene.
Yeah. No. Yes. Well, yeah. I'm proud of it though. Like I said, I mean, again, that's how I rate films. I want films to emotionally stay with me. I mean, hell, and that's Batman Begins and Christian Bale talking, or Michael Caine talking to Christian Bale. It's just such a great scene. It comes back full circle. It's emotional. That scene always gets me when I get it. It's the same way. It's not who I am underneath. How he rocks Rachel with that line. But doesn't really throw it back in her face, but he brings it full circle, right? So there's a character arc there. And I was seeing those things being developed in this film. And the montage, because he's tracking Bruce Wayne, because he can hear, that's awesome too. Again, it's freaking awesome. Yeah. He can hear Alfred's talking to Bruce Wayne in the earpiece when they're at a Lex Luthor thing. And he's following him around, he's tracking him to the back, and then he sees the day that it's the fire. The scene you're talking about is the Day of the Dead.
Right.
In Mexico, and there's a girl trapped in a building. They can't get to her; she's gonna die. Clark Kent tugs on his ties. He moves away, and he's about to do that thing, right? And it's like I said, for me, I didn't need to see him do Superman 2 all over again. He didn't have to run behind LexCorp and dun 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 dun, pull the cape open or pull the shirt open and the S and fly in the sky. He didn't have to do that for me. Because they cut away, because Bruce Wayne, turns out there's a female there who we'll later learn is Diana Prince / Wonder Woman. She's a little bit mystery at the beginning. I mean, we know who she's been cast.
Right.
But she kind of, Bruce Wayne is up to something, and she steals something from Bruce Wayne and takes off. And again, like, my brother was like, that's a wasted scene. What was that scene there for? She's just standing there, walks away. I'm like, again, don't you get it? Bruce Wayne shows up, and he rolls in that classic Aston Martin, man. That's pre-James Bond Aston Martin. That is a classic car. He drives up to the thing. I don't know if anybody caught this as a joke. When Wonder Woman, when she walks away, she gets in that, like a souped-up sports car and just hauls away, just to burning rubber. I thought that was a little bit of a joke there. Like, she just took his and just, kind of like anything you can do, I can do better, kind of that type of thing. So I thought I thought all that stuff was connected. He didn't just show up. And it's a little bit of a joke. He's got a sports car. She's got a better one, a faster one at least, right? And just, So I thought it's all interconnected. There's a lot of charm in that, in my opinion. Affleck in that scene, he's not Batman. He is not Bruce Wayne. He literally just becomes Ben Affleck when he's like, oh, I got turned around. The bathroom was in here. Hey, I like those shoes. And that's it's almost a little Christopher Reeve type of thing to kind of go from Alfred, I can't stay in here forever. And he's got the Batman growly voice to all of a sudden, one martini too many. Hey, do I own the Daily Planet? I forgot. He's kind of playing that up, and it works within the context of the film. So I don't get the criticism of that. And Lex Luthor is on stage talking at that ball, a charity ball, and he starts talking about Greek mythology. Yeah, Zeus, and he threw a thunderbolt and zap, and it cuts to Wonder Woman's face, and she's got this bitter roll my eye. Oh god, the humor behind that. To have Wonder Woman, who, as far as we know, lived through actual Greek mythology, as far as we know, right? May have lived through that time. We don't know yet, but definitely knows her history on it. To have to listen to Lex Luthor start talking about Greek mythology, I just thought that was hilarious. I mean, I was about the only guy that laughed at every little thing in that movie. I'm sure people were like, what does this guy find so funny? But Perry White, look, it's not 1938 anymore. I'm not laughed out loud because that's the year Superman was created. But the joke he's saying, the planet, it stood for something. It's in a scene that's serious. Clark Kent is trying to sell Perry White on this story. The Daily Planet used to stand for something when it was founded. Yeah, and that was in 1938. It's not 1938 anymore. You could stand for something if it was 1930 because it's a Superman classic.
Right.
That whole, the truth, justice, the America, they're referencing all that stuff. To me, it's not just, the big lines from the trailers about, nobody cares about Clark Kent and Batman fighting each other. It's not about all that. It's just they're referencing it, and to me, it's built up in the film. And these are the scenes that films can become very boring. And for me, yeah, Man of Steel, I'm sorry to say, some of the scenes were just really boring for me. They just drag, man. They just drag. Talk about wasted scenes. I still don't know why we watched Lois Lane boil tea and then run down a hallway and then run down an alley for no reason because she's just going to get picked up. They could have had her next to Perry White and you don't understand, Lois. They're talking about treason. The FBI is here. Perry, I don't care. Look up and they're right behind her. There, it's over. Why do we have to see her boil tea? Why? Why do we have to see her boil tea? I don't get it. And she puts like a tiny bit of water. What is she, a bird? She doesn't just wasted a tea bag. It's just weird. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think those were those kind of scenes in this film that a lot of people didn't like Lex. And I will say this is my favorite Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman to me is still better, still the best. I can't replace him. He's as a part of that Superman history for me. I might just like this Lex Luthor just a little bit more than Gene Hackman's though, because you only got Gene Hackman really in 2.5 films if you count the extra cut that they had. But if I compared the original Gene Hackman Superman, the original Gene Hackman Lex Luthor to this Lex Luthor, in a lot of ways, I like this Lex a lot better because it just was so unexpected. He's a very vulnerable, awkward Lex outwardly, and it's part of his personality, though. It's not a complete act. He's a damaged person. Like I said, scene by scene, you get introduced to all these new characters, from little things like that. Wonder Woman making the stank face. Lex Luthor, talking about, Dad named the company after himself. He was the Lex in front of the court. He's trying to kind of push that away from himself. Same way he pushes away his father in that scene, but then he'll bring it back to tell the senator, hey, he's basically telling her, you're on my list, but in a very subtle way. Again, it's acting. It's not, and I like Loki, but it's not just Loki, like, I'm here to conquer you. He's literally, if you don't know what Loki's trying to do in the Marvel films, you're not paying attention, because he's literally telling you, literally spelling it out for you.
I'm like on a different take on both. One more than the other. Couldn't stand Loki in Avengers, but second one, Luthor.
Who watched the Avengers? No, I'm just kidding.
Luthor, that was one for me that I'm torn on him.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of it. I think the first half of it, I loved Lex Luthor in the first half.
Yeah.
It's when they started making him neurotic and a little crazy or whatever. That's when I started kind of like, But before that, all the other stuff where he's, when he's talking with the senator, when he's talking to the two people, he puts the candy in his mouth.
Guy's mouth. I was
loving all of that.
Hilarious.
I was loving all of that. It's just when he starts getting into his little like.
Because what? Like I said, that to me was the most where it's like, that's Gene Hackman status. Step into my office. And they take 2 steps over, right? It's like you didn't go anywhere.
I loved all of the opening, the first half of Lex Luthor. I loved it.
Listen, I have a list. A guy asked him, what's your list of demands? He says, the remains of the Kryptonian. He's like, you want General Zod's body.
I love that. I love that. He's like, okay.
Okay, yeah, like agreement. Like he offered to him. Okay, sure. It's like, yeah.
No. The reason I took it as that is because he's not saying General Zod. Like, that's how I first took it. The second time, the third time, he's talking about Superman.
Yeah.
He's like, I want the dead aliens' remains. General Zod? Okay, General Zod will work.
Yeah.
I want Superman's dead remains. But
that's the other thing, too. Like, I told my brother, I believe, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I believe my brother hated the film and just doesn't want to tell me. He looked like he was going to die in the movie theater, putting his face in his hands and leaning over. And, I was worried about him. And then, like, it ended, and he just had this look on his face like he was utterly baffled. And he looks over to me, he's like, they went for it all, man. They just went for it all. Like, he was just stunned. Like, they went for everything. Like, they went for it all. Like, he just kept saying that. He tried to say, listen, I like it. He was blown away. He was stunned by how much I loved it. He had to be probably more stunned than you were. But, because I'm sure I stunned everybody with, like, I love it.
I was.
I was doing cartwheels and flips. And
I was a happy kind of stunned because those reviews were bothering me.
Yeah.
And then I told you, I think you'll probably hate it. So I kind of expected for you to...
Well, you know what I thought you meant? I thought you meant no. Your worst fears are realized.
The fight.
Yeah, it's just Batman's going to slap him all over Wayne Manor, and because there was a rumor I heard in one of those leaked scripts, and it seemed really legitimate. The guy even provided a ticket, and in that review, Batman just beats the living out of Superman, ties him up, and drags him to the point where like he's ripping off. The S is ripped off. His cape gets ripped off, and he throws him inside of a kryptonite cage in the Bat Cave, and just basically has him in there. And Alfred and Lois Lane carry Superman, dying basically, drop him out in the mud and try to do CPR, and it was just awful. So that's what I was worried about. I was like, oh god, it's going to be like that or something close to it.
As cheesy as it is, when I got your text, when I woke up in the morning and I saw your text about how much you loved it. That whole "men are still good" speech came to my.
Men are still good.
Yeah, that's what.
Men are still good.
Which is, I had to completely ignore my other friend who also I woke up to his text and he hated the movie, so I had to tune that one out and go off of your text of like how you loved it, and I was like, yes.
All those circuses with my friends arguing about an empty box.
But yeah, I was just like, that kind of like was like, oh, okay, whew. Weight off my chest. People are just crazy and hating for no reason. That's how I took the bad review.
I actually, I know, and on that part, I'll agree with you, because like I said, there's so much of this film. Just start taking deep breaths, like, okay, calm down. I don't want to like squeal like a little fangirl. That sequence, yeah, like we were talking, was all that stuff happens. Lex introduced all the stuff that Bruce Wayne meets Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent, and then we introduced to Wonder Woman. She steals the drive. All that stuff happens, and then it's the Superman, like you said, the cutaway. And it's just the visual and the fact that he saves the girl and the way he carries the girl to the... If Superman was real and he landed like that at like Six Flags, I mean, I'd be running to try just put one hand on his shoulder. It's that type of thing. Yeah. And then they begin the montage. And I know it angered a lot of people. There are people that take this stuff way too seriously. But, they're talking about, we've had Jesus, we've had Jehovah, we've had all the gods in history, we've had our mythologies, but they make the point, he's like, we're the ones making the mistake. Right. We're putting that pressure on Superman. He's not, maybe he's not a Jesus or a devil figure. I'm always a little bit bothered when real people show up in there, but the point they were trying to make I thought was interesting. And it's all based around what they call the Superman incident. That's what they call it. Lois Lane calls that in the film, I think. I think that's straight out of the comics. I don't remember if that's a recent one or from the 80s, but that's what happened. He gets involved in an international thing, and a lot of the film has a lot of sequences pulled from that. They're referencing from the comics and taking some of the better elements there and intertwining it into the story. But like I said, just for me, Superman's doing something. He's doing like you said, he's actually doing something. He's not Superman Returns staring at the freaking camera, where I could count the pores on Brandon Routh's face. Man of Steel, where whatever. How about this? Let me see if I can win you over, right? I'll make the case to you. I'll make my case, right? Because when he's on the building, first of all, I just let you know, I love that. Boy, do we have problems up here. I mean, I burst out laughing, right?
I loved, like I said, a lot of it I love. It's an example of On the Rooftop that I didn't love. When he talks about going in circles, round and round and round. Okay. No, wrong subject. Triangle, that personality part I wasn't a fan.
Okay, I get it.
It's other things like when he's on the rooftop, we have problems up here, and he starts breaking down, starts saying this, and he goes Kal-El, and then the way he just stopped, Clark
Joseph Kent.
I love that.
But you know what? Yeah, he says something else. He goes, but isn't that the truth, Clark Joe?
Yeah.
Little things like that. No, I get it. The circle thing, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll give it dumb. But he was trying to get to the triangle point to say that the straightest line to 2 points.
Right.
So, see, that's my thing. It's even if you think it's dumb or you don't like it, it's not. Again, I mean, it's not just doing. This part I don't care about cracking on the Avengers. I just can't get over that video game reference, and then coming back to the guy playing the video game. I just can't get over that reference.
It's not like that at all. That's pointless beyond pointless. This one is a character thing of a.
It's following the thread.
It makes sense to the character. I'm just not sure that the character. I like that part of the character.
Yeah, that wasn't even the part of the film that sold it for me. That rooftop scene. That was the part where it was like, to me.
I loved. I'll let you finish.
No, that was the linchpin for me. That was the scene that made me say, all right, you know what? I know the action is coming because we haven't had it yet. So that scene with Lex on the roof talking about God and stuff. And again, he's not. The filmmakers are not trying to offend believers or offend your sensibilities. This is a villain who sees the world that way. Mm-hmm. And that when he says, and now God bends to my, that's classic Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's the type of guy that if Jesus were alive today would try to manipulate Jesus. That's Lex freaking Luthor.
Yeah.
And just the jokes he was making though about like God is travel, he takes sides. But that's the way he sees it, because God cannot be all powerful because he didn't save me from. I thought they explained it enough that you get it. When he says it didn't stop me from his fist, the way he gets angry, that I saw that. Everybody's like he's terrible. I saw an actor. He nailed it. To me, he sold me. Yeah, he was abused by his dad. There's a lot of abuse in the comic books that play into that. Some people are stuck on the Smallville example. But there's a lot of comic books that are a lot worse. And we've never seen Lex Luthor. Yeah, he's an abused child. He's not just an orphan and a screwed up kid. He's also an abusive child that has hangover from that. This Lex doesn't just, he struggles with it. That's why I love it so much. But then he's up there, like you said, he's giving Superman the business. And that scene about, like I said, to me, he just nailed it. That was a scene where I was like, okay, that's like when the Joker talked to Harvey Dent about nobody panics, right? That famous scene. I got my moment right there. So from that was the scene that finally locked up the linchpin. I love this movie. I know the action's coming. Think about this too. Again, he doesn't stop Superman the way that Batman does. Again, that's Lex Luthor to stop Superman from being able to do anything for him. In fact, now Superman's going to go do something because of what he did. And it's pushing Superman to his limits. And the way he played it is just so awesome to me. So that when they got to the climax, and I like the fight. Again, just so long as they showed that Superman can... They showed how bad he can smack Batman around. Then he drops the line, if I wanted it, you'd be dead already. He hits him with the kryptonite, and it's not a one-sided fight. They're still fighting each other. And he's still, even as Batman's trying to cut him up and kill him, he's making the point to him, I'm trying to save my mother here. And that was beautiful for me, because what's the one thing they always say about Batman? He becomes Batman so that nobody ever has to be that little boy in the alley anymore. And he's about to become that guy. They flipped that around. I wasn't as emotional as a lot of people were for that. But it flips around. And again, everything you've seen referenced, it comes back full circle. And for me, it all started with that Lex scene, because Lex sets all this up. That's why for me, I was happy with. I was okay with it. Any other movie that gives me anything else before that, I probably would hate. Yeah, I don't like the way the fight ended. I don't like the way the Doomsday fight went. And major spoilers if you guys haven't realized that by now. But yeah, Superman, they do the death of Superman. Whoa. And he dies, but he also, I noticed it again last night. It says, there's the Trinity, there's the dawn of justice. Oh, we didn't see the dawn of justice. Wonder Woman lashes on with the lasso to Doomsday, given that everything she's got, she's putting in a world of freaking effort to fight Doomsday. Batman hits him with the kryptonite, and Superman flying, he gets the heroic final shot. And then gets the heroic final shot, and he gets stabbed in the freaking chest by Doomsday's spine. He reaches up and grabs the spine on Doomsday to pull himself even further, and right to the chest. Like, I was like, that's that right there, man. I would have never bought into that in any other film, but add the depth of the story to how it all winds up connecting to the end, and then Superman and all the heroes get to do it heroically. I don't know how I couldn't be sold on it. That's why I'm like, even for people that are their big fans, but I don't know how they couldn't be sold on it. That baffles me a lot. I don't know. The negativity critics, one thing, but if you're a comic fan, how can you not like the fact that they gave you some, they gave you a little taste of the Trinity working together. And he's not dead forever. He's gonna come back. And then, of course, they do the sort of a Wrath of Khan thing they do, where they go to the casket to finish the film. Although in this film, the dirt on Superman's casket, it raises up, that's what happens when he flies off the ground, the gravity well, right? Yeah, I will say, though, I told my brother, they were searching for an ending to that film. You could tell that the script must have ended 3 or 4 times, and they just kept it going to make sure they got every last beat out of it. To me, that's why the whole film worked. The depth of the story, Lex is quirky, but there's that subtle evil, that viciousness, that maliciousness. It's just, his lip curls up and shakes in certain scenes when he doesn't get his way. The speech that he gives, notice what he's saying. The knowledge without power is paradoxical. He has the knowledge to kill Superman, but he doesn't have all the power to do it yet. And he doesn't have the power to do it himself. He's got to get Batman to try to do it. And he's got to try to create Doomsday. Like, I caught all of that depth in the story. Or like the beginning you referenced, Batman going into what's sort of like the death of Bruce Wayne for him to become Batman again. That's why I was sold on it. And then just so long as you treat the characters with a respect, that part of it was perfection. So I wound up saying, I loved it a lot the first time. I saw it the second time. I said, okay, I just want to make sure I didn't, misunderstand anything. So I settled on the film. To me, it is a solid 9.5 out of 10. And for reference, my films that are 10, we're talking about The Godfather, Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now. the greatest films in history that are considered that way. Jaws, things like that are my 10, Patton, et cetera, et cetera. So this film is a 9.5 out of 10. I love it. It surpassed Batman Begins for me. So it's now the original Burton Batman, this one in terms of Batman films, and I put it up there behind Superman 2 in terms of Superman films. I loved it. You got any disagreements there? Any final thoughts on all that?
Well, I mean, I have lots of disagreements, but that's not about this movie.
Yeah.
It's about your other movies. That's where my disagreements come in, so I won't go into that. But no, a lot of it I loved. The one thing I was going to say that I loved was a little exchange when they're on the roof. And Alexa's like, oh, I believe you're going to fight for me because you're going to do it to protect that special woman. And Superman thinking he's talking about Lois. Yeah. I love the little, she's safe on the ground. How about you? Because I love that scene because the whole thing right there. That's a classic Superman response. The way he does it is just like yes, and then Lex to break it down and be like, oh, I'm not talking about her. Every boy's special woman is his mother, and then the look on Superman's face is like, what? Yeah. Then he pulls that out, and I love that. Yeah. Now God bends to. Everything,
the mother of a demon, or the mother of a demon must be a real witch. What's the punishment for witchcraft? Oh,
everything where Lex would bring up God, I loved. Yeah, every little thing, like when you say, "Now God bends to my will." Yeah. I love that line. I loved after Superman shows up and he's still bringing up, so he still brings up all those terms, and now God is good as dead. Yeah, I love that too. It's just like things like that. It's like. I love those. Like I said, there's a lot of this Lex Luthor that I love that I think flew over a lot of people's heads. I don't think a lot of people realized how up he is. Yeah. Like, here's that, like the dude, Wallace Keefe. Yeah. He f***ed that guy over. Yeah. Bruce Wayne's been sending him checks forever to help him live a good life. And
he never gets the checks. Yeah.
Is stealing those checks.
Vandalizing them.
Writing little notes to Bruce and sending them back. So this guy's
That's when the guy says, I have nothing.
Yeah, this guy's life he's like, how come because Lex Luthor has this big master plan that he's stretched out this whole entire time. And then he sends Superman over.
Did you like the wheelchair? The way he's... Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. He turns around the wheelchair.
Yeah. I love that.
And he looks so... He's just being a jack. And he gets up and walks out of the chair, right? But again, Dala... What do you want to help you stand for something? And he sends him in there with a bomb. That's what I'm saying. He killed Mercy. Okay, somebody pointed out Mercy dies in the cartoon like 3 or 4 times. Lex tries to kill her, apparently. And I guess one time he kills her to turn her into a robot. But also, I'm like, what are you crying? That's classic Lex Luthor. He's just a jerk. He doesn't care about anybody. Exactly. Send her in there to die and not give a crap about her.
And then, and someone said, oh, they try. This is one thing that... I don't agree with it. I mean, they weren't making it as a negative. They're making it as a positive point. Yeah. I don't think that was the point, and that's how much I loved Luthor, is the fact that they questioned what did the guy get for going along with Lex, the guy who puts the candy in his mouth. Uh-huh. And so some people were like, well, that's the beautiful thing is he doesn't... I'll give you these things because I'm going to kill you. I don't even think he thought that part of it. Oh, the guy's there, so he's dead. I don't care. Yeah. I didn't think the thought of, well, I'm going to kill you anyways. It's just... You're there, so you're dead. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have you killed. No, it's just like, that's, And I love the fact that he sends, how he sends him in there. He sends Superman in there to kill Batman. That's what he tells him. Yeah. But he's not doing that. He's sending Superman there to die. Yeah. In his mind, Batman, you have my weapon. You have my ultimate weapon to kill him.
People don't realize that scene, there's a long sequence that plays out through the film and it comes around. But when Lex goes into LexCorp, it's after the explosion. Oh, that's right. People are, the cutting is so bad. Nope. The 4th time, I was looking for reasons to say, okay, I agree with you. It needed to be edited better. No. People, again, maybe they're bored. Maybe they just didn't want to pay attention. It keeps cutting back and forth between Clark's mom and stuff. It's trying to keep you off guard for 1. But 2, it's cutting to Bruce so Bruce can see that. Like you said, you discover the thing with the checks and he's watching the Capitol. He just missed out on his chance to get kryptonite. Then Superman lands and goes down and the thing blows up. The anger, the rage on Batman's face, or it's Bruce Wayne's face. The next scene, Lex Luthor is going into LexCorp, and Batman went in there and wrecked some fools.
Right.
Because he looked like he drove the Batmobile right through everything. Everything's on fire. The bullets are everywhere. Lex Luthor shows up. He's surveying the damage. But when he goes into the storage, the kryptonite's missing. Do you see the subtle smile on his face?
Absolutely.
A lot of people are like, I don't get it. I'm stupid.
No,
he's looking at it, and then he smiles.
He smiles because my plan is going.
Yes, it's that classic.
I have it.
Without doing an over-the-top comic book, yes, my evil plan is coming together. Without doing that smile. And again, I don't understand. So a lot of my friends were mad about that because I compared him to Loki a lot. More Loki.
Well, I'm getting mad about that too, for different reasons.
more Loki in the second Thor film because of how he's making fun of Thor. Like when he becomes Captain America, and he's like, "Oh, look at this, the righteousness, truth, justice, the American." And he gets cut out. He pretends to be Lady Sif. It's more along those lines of how he's just having fun with Superman, but there's a diabolical plan behind it. If you had told me that Stanley Kubrick didn't die, and this was his last film, and say he died on the press tour, right? This is Stanley Kubrick's last film. His take on superheroes. Up until all the CGI with the action, I would have believed this was a Stanley Kubrick film. Because there's enough mystery, there's enough great cinematography, there's enough kind of intertwining stories. And again, these are people that look at, like a Kubrick, is a legendary director, look at Space Odyssey. There are a lot of weird cuts in that film, a lot of strange jump cut. But people say, oh, it's legendary, it's awesome. Look at this film. Oh, it's Zack Snyder, he didn't know what he's doing. He probably had an amateur do it. So I think there's that. I mean...
I said my things were like tiny little. It's okay. One of them I had to backtrack on. The first time I watched it, The Death of Superman. The Death of Superman, I didn't think was handled well enough before. The first time I watched it, because for some reason, I was viewing the movie differently. Like I remember, Wonder Woman gets knocked back and she smiles. Yeah. I loved it when it happened. And then, for some reason, I saw that as the immediate scene before he dies. And I'm like, well, then that sucked.
Yeah.
On the the third one, I really, really just watched that knowing, okay, here's where it comes in. And then you see, no, it's not that way. She smiles, goes back, cuts off his hand, gets knocked back again. And this time I actually paid attention to the background.
Yeah.
And that's Superman looking at... Before, I'm always looking at Superman and Lois. But this time I was paying attention to the background where you see Doomsday just getting more powerful, just getting like his hands growing into his claws, getting more powerful. It's basically the realization of like, I am the only one that can stop it.
Yeah.
See, before when I first saw it, I didn't feel like they stressed that enough that he was the only one that could actually stop it.
Yeah.
The other times, then I was like, okay, yeah, all right. That's one of the ones that gets me emotional, so I'm not gonna go too much into that.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Well, I love everything about that part, And when he says his buys, basically, I'm like almost a mess just thinking on that.
I was gonna bring it up to okay, I won't have you like I was in the drive. No, like I said, I think for me, I'm not as emotional with him dying because I'm like he's not.
Well, no, but
he's coming back.
That
by the next film.
I
but
still
it's like,
think it's.
That's the only reason for me that it didn't get that emotional. But it's good though. I agree with you. It's really, really good. I'm not judging you at all for that.
I think you're weird that you don't, because I remember even Kevin Smith on his podcast. He was recounting The Dark Knight Rises, and getting emotional about Batman being like, "All right, I can die. I did a good job." And this is after knowing he doesn't die, and he would get emotional. So. With Superman actually dying, yes, he'll come back, but it's still there.
Well, I tell you, the only thing that did get me, though, the Superman S logo, the crest that he wears on his chest, that being on the casket, when they lower the American flag and you see the S's on the casket, I did do a little, I did do a little bit of that, like, keep it together. Then I thought to myself...
the monument made me...
And I thought to myself, if I ever die, that's going on my casket. That's the only desire, my only wish, is that Superman logo on the top of my casket. I think we can cover that talking about the future of how we see things going forward. But like I said, for me, the big thing was I got everything I needed, everything I wanted, and so much more. I felt so respected as a fan leaving the theater. I mean, I was galloping for joy, and I just kept telling my brother. He kept saying, well, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it worked. It worked, though. But that worked. It worked. Did you pay attention? It worked. It all worked. So I was blown away at that. All the reactions from everybody around me. I've seen it 4 different times, 4 very different audiences. They all love it for different reasons. And the thing about it is that it gave me enough confidence. I can't wait for Suicide Squad. Can't wait for Wonder Woman now. Can't wait for the next Justice League film. I'm all on board, like I said, with what they're doing. So long as if they keep things respectful to the characters, then I'm good. disagree. Now you're really going to turncoat on me.
No. Turns out, I think it sucked. I can't say enough how much I love the movie, man. I keep going back. I enjoy it. It also helps that I have the Ultimate Pass. Oh, I didn't count that as a merch thing. Probably should have. But I was just going to break down a couple of things that I really enjoyed, and I don't remember where I wanted to start, because I wanted to end on the death of Superman. I loved
Well, if you want to go for it, go for it.
Well, I don't remember. That's the thing. I wanted to end on that part, so it's kind of weird now. It's like, okay, that was my main thing I loved, is that whole, all of that part was good stuff. Oh, I wanted to ask crowd reactions to his death. Any noticeable sadness?
For me? Oh my God.
With the people there.
Tons of people like, and like nobody like bawling, like crying, but there was a lot of reaction to all that stuff. The casket and stuff made people go, oh my God. I could hear whispers like that. And then the third time I saw it with a bunch of young, very young, seemed like hipster college students. And I was worried because they were like all loud during the trailers. I'm like, I'm going to have to freaking get them. I can't fight 10 kids, right? But they had all kinds of reactions during the film. And one girl said something that stood out to me. She said, and she was like emotionally in tears. Holy crap, that was like, I didn't expect it to be that good. Like I kept hearing that from, younger. But that one stood out to me because she was literally bawling. There was one guy last night. I saw an IMAX 3D last night. One guy with his girlfriend, he was crying. And he was wiping tears away, and he was talking about it. And it was a good thing, too. It wasn't like, oh, my God. And there was another girl, like, during the Jungle Book trailers and stuff, she was, like, giggling really loud when the newspaper says Superman is dead, which just proves my point, too, about Superman Returns just ruined everything. Because, I'm sorry, there's so much that Bryan Singer did that was unnecessary in Superman Returns. And it took, to me, I'm a little bit mad. Like, if you're not going to do the story the right way, like, how dare you steal that and take that from somebody else? Because it just seemed like he shoehorned that in so bad. So when I saw the newspaper, unfortunately, I had a little bit of a negative reaction. I was like, oh, great, we saw that before Bryan Singer's stupid film. But now it's Perry White looking at the newspaper and it says Superman is dead. So this girl, I said, he was so good. I haven't cried in a movie like that. I can't believe I cried in a freaking Superman film, So, the crowd reactions that I was around, to me, were incredible.
Awesome.
I think, were you the one that told me that, like, the only thing that was out was that, then the Star Trek trailer come on, everybody booed or something?
Yeah. That was with Star Wars.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
No, I was mainly referring to the end, but it's good. You mainly covered the end part. But it was just funny because the last time I saw it, we saw it in IMAX 3D. There was a guy a couple seats over from me. He was going like this, and in my head I was joking, oh, look at him, he's crying. This really got to him. But I thought he was like moving his glasses.
Yeah, his glasses, yeah.
And then he puts his arm down, and I was just thinking that also, that wet sound, the wet when it makes when it's like because of tears. And then I realized he is actually seriously crying that hard that's happened. And that's good. I won't lie. Knowing he comes back, I'll still watch it, and I still get a little teary eyes about it because it's done real well. Like everything down to when he first gets stabbed. He has that instinct. It's not an immediate, I'm going to pull myself in. He's like fighting it at first.
Yeah. He's always trying to drive the spear in.
Right. And then the realization of like, no, I have to pull myself in. So then he pulls himself in. That's Superman.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good stuff.
Berries. And... well, here I am. And my goodness, here's the thing. And here's the thing for me. I'm getting emotional again.
Oh, right,
I really am.
right. Okay.
My brother made me emotional when he asked me about it on the phone, the whole Martha thing. Now, I have noticed before that their mothers share the same name. That wasn't new to me.
Right.
But it definitely was new to me, even the idea to use it in this way. And I thought really, really hard about it. I cannot recall a comic book character or a comic book story, or I don't recall anybody ever using it that way. I might be wrong here or there, but I just definitely not to any grand. Nobody's ever used it to any grand, it's never been used in such a grand way that it's like, okay, yeah, That's like everybody knows they referenced it from this comic or they referenced it from this TV show or whatever. That was not even the much beloved Bruce Timm, touch. Well, of course he wouldn't. Why would he care what Superman's mother's name? Think about this. I just think about this. Batman goes as hard as he has ever gone before than we've ever seen him go in a movie.
Right.
On behalf of Superman. For the old boy Superman. And to save Superman's mother on top of that. That whole mythology that has existed for 75 plus years of Batman, never wanting anybody to ever experience again what happened with his parents, never having to be that little boy in the alley ever again. Everything that makes that character, that's always been a big sticking point with him. And he does it for Superman and on behalf of Superman. And The Dark Knight Returns, that epic trilogy that for years and years kind of defined the character. And basically he's a really a-hole Batman. And an over-the-top, extremely, almost to the point of being a gruesome type of character to how vicious he's willing to be. How far he's willing to push being an a-hole and still remain a quote-unquote good superhero, right? To the point where the line from the movie is actually from the comic book about, we're criminals, we've always been criminals. This movie sees that. It's like Snyder exercised that demon. It's exercised in the moment when these two characters really focus on the things that they have in common. It's not just the mother, whose name is Martha. It's loss. Loss is what they both have in common. Loss and the determination to stand for something after that is what defines these two characters. And freaking Batman goes hardcore, trafficking criminals, driving their heads into this ground, rock bottoming somebody like over the top rope rock bottom. Oh, you should have stuck that knife right up that guy's behind, though. That was like, because the guy tugs on Batman's cape, right? That's you don't tug on Superman's cape. Well, this should have been you don't tug on Batman's cape, or he'll stick a knife up your.
Side note on that, I do love the way he does that. He comes off just so beastly, like, oh, this guy's dead when he gets up and the way he's standing there and then he rips the knife out of his arm, rips it off out of his shoulder. It's just like, ooh, this guy's in a bad way.
I hope the radar cut. He sticks it somewhere else. But anyways, I know, but like the guy that shoots him in the back of the head, right? And again, this is like a realistic. That's always been my big problem with the Batman too. Is like it's just so to make him this super ninja, super intelligent ninja. At some point, the guy would catch a stray bullet. Right. And he does. He catches in the back of the head, and he's got that Batman, the auto-tone voice change, the voice box, right? Auto-tone. He's got the voice. He has the voice box, changing his voice, right?
Voice changer.
Yeah,
voice modulator, whatever.
Yeah, so you hear him go, oh!
Right.
But then when he turns around and he grabs that guy, well, I'm like, he's gonna break this guy. Like he is, he's still that vicious Frank Miller Batman, but almost like putting that to use for better reasons. And again, to save Superman's but crashing through a freaking wall like we've never seen before. Again, saving Superman's mother and just going hard as can be and having Alfred involved in it, the Batwing, being an automation and all of that for Superman, for his fellow super friend, his newfound super friend, right?
Right.
And then, of course, for all the critics out there, it's also dire, it's also dark, and it's also violent. The scene is topped off with a joke. Well, I'm a friend of your son's.
I figured.
Yeah.
The cape.
Yeah, the cape.
That got laughs because it's funny.
Just again, when you've seen for 30 plus years this character of Batman, for the most part, I would say at the very least, if I'm being generous, 80% to 20%. 80% of the time he's just backhanding Superman and turning Superman into, and it's the writers and people behind this, though, are using the characters to turn Superman into almost a secondary character, even if it's his own cartoon or his own whatever, his own movie, his own universe. And then now they could do those type of things, but do it with a level of respect. It wasn't a cliche that they don't, we'll shake hands like, super friends? Yeah, super friends, and they shake hands. When he Superman's my mother needs me, and he puts his hand on him and stops him, and he's like, I promise you, it's Batman, freaking Batman, in the shredded Dark Knight armor. And Martha won't die tonight. Trust me, I'll make you a promise. I don't know how I've heard so few people really touch on that or talk about that. To me, it's just, I don't know how you missed that or how you overlooked that. That to me is just incredible.
It is, yeah. I like that. And it's funny because you brought up before that you don't think anyone's actually ever used that, like the fact that they have their mothers share the same name.
Yeah.
And that was something I thought, like, immediately when I came out of it. I was like, have they ever really touched on that? And just the thought alone of how odd that is. I mean, is there anybody really in comics that really, shares that? That's unique just in that in itself, that the two biggest characters, Batman and Superman, they both have, just randomly their mothers both shared the same name. And so why wouldn't that come into play? I mean, how odd is that in itself? So why not use that?
People bashing on Hollywood writers is kind of a sticking point with me because I'm one of the few people that's been very close or gone through a system of disasters, and I know how hard it is. It's a miracle any movie ever gets made, and there's a movie out almost every day on demand now, especially on your phone on demand on Netflix if you want, or in the theater. But to even get these things done is incredible. The Avengers had to postpone production or postpone the release date for a year. Yeah, I mean, where's the respect? Where is the appreciation for the fact that Hollywood screenwriters, like you said, came up with something? And I'm sorry, Academy Award winning writer, along with really, to me, a legend of comic book film, screenwriters in David S. Goyer. Either one of them or both of them together came up with this concept that has never been used before to this great effect.
The other thing that I think is kind of a shame about this whole thing is I see that, at least with like my coworker saw it, he kind of takes that as a stepbrother thing, and I think it's like, you're kind of missing the point there. And he always just goes off of they're both named Martha. Did we just become best friends? Like, it's kind of like a joke-like thing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but you're kind of missing the importance of the whole scene if that's all you took out of it was, they shared the same name. That's it. I mean, it's a key moment to that. I mean, that's obviously what stops the whole thing, stops him from killing Superman, is that moment, because it says so much. It flashes back. He stops. He thinks of his mom. He doesn't realize that's Superman's mom, so as far as he knows, where is this name coming from? That's enough to pause.
Yeah, I saw almost like I think it was, it looked like a Garfield cartoon or something, like it was in a newspaper or something, and they were reenacting that final sequence, and he's just like, you're about to become everything that you hate and everything you swore never to become, and he's like, whatever, and stabs him anyways. He's like, yeah, this script needed work. I use Star Wars as the reference because especially a lot of these critics who are out there getting into these back and forth battles and just so self-absorbed and so they went all in on Star Wars, and they gave that film far too much credit. It's all their right to, but they were, like the stuff that they're saying, the universe and everything that this means within the universe because of what has been established in Star Wars before, the previous films, the books, the comics, and it's like, none of that is referenced at all in the film. Like if you're judging a film, you can only truly take what's in the film. But it's okay for them to do it with Star Wars and then just worship this film that glorify it, to the end of time, and it's only been a couple of months, and yet with Batman and Superman, they're like, well, no, it has to be something that's mentioned in the film. You can't reference the 75 plus years of history these characters have. Excuse us, right? These characters are, have defined pop culture in a lot of ways, and in their little corner of pop culture. Oh no, you can't do that with these characters. Well, maybe you want to convince people that they can't, but sorry, buddy, we saw it. So yeah, that to me is just. But again, I can't get over that. I just can't get over that. Batman, hardcore as can be, rocking out with Ben Affleck as smooth and Rico Suave as he needs to be, as goofy as he needs to be, and then as vicious as he wants to be, as vicious as he's becoming. Freaking goes hard as we've ever seen any Batman go before in any freaking movie. And on behalf of Superman, on behalf of Superman's mother, and most importantly of all, correcting the incorrect path he's on, correcting the mistakes he's been making, a Batman who makes big mistakes, a Batman who isn't Bruce Timm's. Well, I actually when this whole thing first started, I calculated everything, and in fact, I conjured up different ideas based on the different scenarios we'd be into. So clearly, I came up with it.
But I decided, just in case I didn't have to, this is
it's all set up. Yeah, like I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And I know that's a cartoon, so I'm not trying to bash it too much. But a lot of that is in the comics too, and it's just been something that's been around for so long. And Superman is overpowered. He's the one that's OP. The Hulk is the one that's OP. Wait a minute. This guy is like a mix of Stephen Hawking / Harry freaking Potter Wizarding World. Of all the tricks he's got up, there's nothing that drops in front of him that he can't just, making fun of the old Adam West series. You have a problem that he's got a shark repellent in his belt. Should he ever come across a shark in Gotham City? And you don't have a problem in the cartoons where he's like, I once pondered an alien invasion, so I have this little trick up my sleeve here. But here's a Batman who makes mistakes, who's flawed, and then is willing to admit them in the most Batman way ever, and then go correct them, and do it while crushing skulls and looking totally, completely like a bad son of a gun all the way. Like, again, I just don't understand why there isn't enough appreciation for that. When there are other films that people are willing to just overly appreciate, like Star Wars, and I'll use that as the example because I just think that's the most preeminent one, in recent history.
See, I think that's one of the issues that a lot of people have is, for whatever reason, they're unwilling to allow Batman to have flaws. Like, I was at Barnes & Noble one time, and I overheard someone talking about it with their friend, and they were basically talking about the movie, and it's like, oh yeah, well, Batman won it, but I don't like it. I didn't like the way he was acting. I didn't like his attitude in it. Basically, like,
yeah.
Part of it for me, it's like, that's why I was okay with the outcome, because yeah, well, he's a douche. Apologize for language. He's become a bad person, and
well, he's treading that line of cruelty. That's Alfred's point. He's
becoming a very
cruel. And some people
person.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, he's becoming a cruel person, and that's what it takes for. I mean, when you think about it, this is a character who in the comics, so it's not unheard of for here, but everyone always overlooks it. But he has a way to basically take down the Justice League. So basically, here's a guy who's like, hey, these guys are my friends, but secretly, I know how to kill you all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a great friend if he's secretly in the back, like, okay, but I'll kill him if I need to. I could kill her too.
One day,
when
the day comes,
right?
Scrapsta will never see it coming.
and it's just like, it's like,
one day the Fanboys Finest will be brought to their knees.
And then it's like, you have it where you use the excuse of he has it set up so that way, in case they ever go bad, he knows how to take them down in case whatever. But here's the overlying thing. He's supposed to be friends with them. He has obviously no trust that he thinks the day will come where he has to stop.
Yeah.
He has to stop them. Where's the trust? Where's the friendship in that he doesn't really fully trust them?
Yeah, well, the thing that got me about that is that whole... And that was called Tower of Babel in the comics.
Right.
And
Doom in the cartoon.
Yeah, the recent one would be called Justice League Doom. And the thing that gets me about it, too, is that he's got he's got, like you said, those pre-assigned plans for, like, Cyborg and Wonder Woman. And I'm like, bruh. Like, if ever there's a reason to use that term, bruh, you got plans, like you said, you got plans for Cyborg and Wonder Woman. You're kind of multitasking a little too far here, brother. Right. Like, I could see the Flash because, the Speed Force and all that, where he's so fast that this guy could, they've established he's so fast he can tear space and time and through dimensions or whatever. So he's got the little thing to kind of, if you move, whatever, I forgot how he froze him. And, so it's like you said, he's going to some extremes. He's got a little thing there for Alfred. Alfred, if you ever turn on me,
right?
I got your nude photos, man. I'll destroy you. You'll never work for another billionaire family again, bro. You're gonna be you'll be sweeping floors for the Fanboys Finest.
Exactly. This is like, they're not exactly great qualities of a person. So when they basically use that in the movie, and it's not like done to be like, oh, how cool. It's instead done basically showing how cruel he's becoming. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, that's not cool. That's not Batman. But it's like, well,
it was just what I think they said something where they missed the point is like in the comic book Hush, he's given that line where he's comparing himself to Superman. Then he says, but ultimately, he's a good person, and deep down, I'm not.
Right.
but he's still given all the, the glorified lines, the glorified beats of the story all go in his favor. He's got, like I said, so when you have a character that's like that, and like I said, I like him a lot. I have certain limits to where I can like him, because to me, it just becomes very unlikable. Like you said, when you get to that point, when you're out there, well, this wasn't my Superman. This wasn't my Batman. Oh, but The Dark Knight Returns is. You're okay with that. You're okay with those two characters being taken to extreme levels beyond who they are, beyond what they represent. Oh, because it's an Elseworlds tale, but you can't handle a movie, which would be another Elseworlds tale where it takes place. This would be like the cartoon that you might watch with your kids, or you might have grown up watching. It's a different universe than what's in this movie and what's in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So DC will say, yeah, multiverse, Elseworld. And they're fine with, like I said, The Dark Knight Returns, or all these other comics or Injustice, where the characters are completely truly out of character. Characters out of character, to reuse the same word there over and over again. Right. But it's like that, they're acting in ways that go against how they've been established for generations. And you're okay with that. You're okay with Injustice having a huge aesthetic influence on Batman versus Superman, as a film, but not everything else. And then wanting to, again, kind of turn that, it was almost like exercising. And this is, again, I'll go back to this. This is Zack Snyder, the fascist filmmaker that is, all about blood and guts and, incoherent violence. That's what his critics say. This is Zack Snyder, who's like friends with Frank Miller, and consulted with Frank Miller beforehand, which had me terrified, because I thought,
panicked too.
Yeah, I just thought, oh my, when they announced this movie was coming to be, they announced it by reading from The Dark Knight Returns, and to me, what is maybe the seminal point in Batman history to a lot of people, but is conversely the lowest point in Superman history, the lowest point in DC Comics history and this was the 80s too, so this is that, I want you to remember, Clark, in all the days to come. And, again, he's still that arrogant thing, too, where he just beat Batman to a bloody pulp in this Dark Knight Returns comic, and he's like, I didn't have to go easy on you. So, again, that whole ninja arrogance thing. I could have killed you. I could have removed your ears if I'd have wanted to, but I didn't want to go easy on you. I wanted you to remember, in all your most private moments, in all the days to come, I want you to remember, Clark, the one man who beat you. And they used that to introduce the fact that Batman was going to be in the next movie at Comic-Con. That was their introduction, and then this Batman logo comes up and just, engulfs the Superman logo that you just reestablished with Man of Steel. So that's how this movie started off, how it kicked off to all of us. And then, like I said, Frank Miller, the guy who wrote that comic, the guy who's caused a lot of controversy over the years with the different projects he's got. But he was the man behind 300, and so Zack Snyder obviously heavily consulted with him, worked with him on the film. And yet, despite all that, it's not Batman on a therapist's couch. It wasn't done in an extremely boring way, right? It wasn't any kind of, sorry, I'm not that kind of doctor. Whoa, took a shot. That's right, I did. Anyways, if you don't get it, don't worry about it. Move on. Some of you guys will be a little bad at me. But anyways.
Really? I don't think anyone would be mad about that shot.
Hey, I know some people that love that film.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
they do.
I'm not going to say names, but really?
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Right. Anyways.
I'm with you. I loved it. I loved the fight. It didn't, I remember after I saw it, that was one of the key things you asked me, basically, does that line happen? The line you just said where he talks to him is, I want you to remember this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, thank God, no. The outcome it basically goes the same way. You probably saw this by now, hopefully, if you are listening to this. You should know, okay, Batman technically wins that fight between them.
No, you don't remember? Nobody went to go see this movie. Oh, yeah, right. It's just, it made like $825 million in like 26 days, but nobody saw it. Yeah, it's the worst movie ever made. Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah.
So if you're like one of the two people that saw it, I guess.
The two people that spent $420 million plus to go see it. They bought a lot of tickets for themselves, right?
I fully agree with you. I don't think it was a one like, oh yeah, well Batman won. I really just mean the visual of it.
Yeah, okay.
Because no, I fully agree that I think it is set up with enough of a question there of like, but could he really beat him? I mean, from the start of it, Superman's there for help. He's not there for a fight. Yeah. Batman is this full on like when he's just like full on like here I am, come and get me.
Yeah, if I wanted it, you'd be dead already.
Right. Yeah. And so Superman comes there and he's like, right out the bat tries to reason with him because he's not there for a fight. He's there to get help to find his mother. And so there's enough of that in there. Like you said, he can wield the spear. He can wield the spear and fly. It's not like
and use it in a stabbing motion.
Right. So it's not like he's completely helpless there. But I was just more referring to the fact that the visual you see is Batman on top of Superman at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things I was worried about the most with this. But it was handled in such a way, just the characters, the way they went about. And for me, to reasonably see Batman do that, he would have to be that cruel guy. And I know that's, I think, one of the things that a lot of people that even like the character didn't like because how cruel he was. And I thought that was, to me, it was like, well, that's really, if you've got a guy who's making all this stuff to hurt Superman, he's not a good guy.
So, okay, here's the thing. These guys are traffickers who murdered an entire African village and then brought even more destruction and death to them as a result of trying to set up Superman. And that they are here guarding a kidnapped woman, a mother, so that they can burn her alive to a burnt crisp and deliver her ashes to Superman. And people have a problem that Batman is wrecking these fools and shoving knives into them and then kicking them through walls. One guy in that scene, I'm pretty sure, got his neck broke when that giant crate he took a giant crate to the face. And the way he laid there was like, yeah, there's some internal damage here. It's a film and it's not real, but that's the setup for it. And you want to feel bad for those guys because you have some type of, some type of cultural, political thing you want to get caught in, so to speak. But of course, you have no problem going on social media and saying that all the people you disagree with should, be beaten to death or, launched into space. But, you have a problem with Batman doing that in this movie. Again, all the negativity that was put on that, it just didn't seem to add up at all, So I don't know if I'm again, maybe that's just me, but.
No, it's one of those things, like, I've seen people that had an issue with that. Like, oh, he did this. He killed so many people. And then if you ask who's their favorite, most of the times they'll say Keaton.
Yeah.
And Keaton was a psychopath. His Batman was a crazy man. This is a Batman.
Michael Keaton's Batman was a cold-blooded, ruthless killer.
This is a man,
killing machine.
This is a man who is lying to the Jokers, I'm going to kill you. There's no two ways about it. He plans to end his life.
No.
Here's another one.
Sadistically, though, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is in Batman Returns. When he has he's going through all of the Red Triangle gang circus.
No, this mofo is strolling around the Gotham corner with a dynamite bomb in his hand.
He's like
just strolling with that bomb,
casually beating them down. Like, you're nothing. Then here comes the strong man. He's like, come on, hit me. So Batman hits him. He's like, wait, nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Wait. Go ahead, do it.
Yeah, exactly. and so Batman gives him a punch. No, nothing happens. And so then what happens next? Batman gets this grin on his face.
That's a great scene.
A very serious grin, and the guy's like, what? Looks down. Batman has strapped dynamite to this man, punches him down, and just walks off. This guy blows up.
I've heard people say, you see the way the bomb exploded? It was a confetti ball.
Sorry.
Bullcrap. But it's a sadistic grin.
It is.
That sadistic grin that Keaton's Batman gives the guy.
And not to mention when he first shows up in that movie, one of the first things he does is just turn the Batmobile. The guy blows fire at the Batmobile.
Yeah, he turns the Batmobile around. Yeah, lights this guy up with the thermal fiery jet exhaust from this jet engine that he's got on this Batmobile, and just in a puff torches this guy completely on fire and leaves him on his little one-sickle, right? Yeah, that's a meme, right? When it's just like Batman doesn't kill. Leaving you with third-degree burns in the middle of downtown Gotham is not beyond the possibility of what could happen, though.
And so it's like
he tries to kill Catwoman, but I never realized that until I watched it again. Yeah, that's acid he throws at her. He throws acid because later in the movie, and then he making out with this chick later, right?
Right.
And he rubs on her arm. And he's like, look at what his acid did to her arm. Like, his acid ate right through her little leather jacket suit and just melted half of her arm. And then he pushes her off a building, and she only survives because there's a truck Well, okay, she falls into a truck of kitty litter. For goodness sakes, that's the joke in the film, is like saved by kitty litter. But I mean, she has. It's not the kitty litter that saved her. That she's got this strange, never explained supernatural power where she's got 9 lives of a cat. So he killed her. She could have fallen and splattered on the concrete and would have gotten up with more of her lives. Like he said, is well, So again, even if you, and she says later in the film, "Batman killed me," right? That's one of my lives.
It's a kill. I taking it, she probably does actually have 9 lives somehow in this movie.
Well, she survives all that stuff.
Right. I don't know if she survives or if she actually has 9 lives that she's coming back from. But she straight up says Batman killed me.
Yeah.
So
therefore, like, the Penguin killed me, you killed me, Batman killed me. So, she says it with that little bit of anger too.
Right. So it's like, okay. And I'm not trying to say, oh, he's terrible, but I'm saying,
yeah, still the greatest Batman for me. But if you look at it,
but I'm saying you can't say, oh, this guy's too whatever, and then turn around and say he was the best when he was a vicious killer. That Batman.
No, it's yeah, no, you're right. Because in the first film, it's like, and like you said, there's a sadistic quality to it, because he's like, he walks up on the Joker, who Vicky Vale is dancing with the Joker, and she sees Batman pass behind them, so she's trying to buy time for Batman to come and save her. And so she starts, like, kissing on the Joker, like, oh, Mr. Joker, way before Harley Quinn. And she's like, oh, I love purple. Then she slips down the front of his body, like, I don't know exactly what she's intending to do or how, and it's
never
like,
told you about this stuff?
Yeah, and then the Joker's standing there like he knows what's about to happen or what he thinks is about to happen. And she's about to find out, the whole thing about the carpet and the drapes. She's about to find out if everything, is white and green. But, so, I mean, I guess it's the way the scene plays. I don't know she just slides down the front of him, like, and then, the Joker's there wandering off, like I'm Jack Nicholson, like, this has happened millions of times, right? So, and then Batman's like, excuse me. He's standing right next to him, right? He's strolled up next to him, excuse me. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then just knocks the living crap right out of the Joker, right? And then, like you said, when he comes back, slaps him on the face again and then pulls him up to him, I'm going to kill you. There's that sadistic quality to that sequence.
Not to mention, if, he wanted to kill him. That was the goal.
Yeah.
He totally could have just snapped his neck right there when he was, all distracted. He could have just walked up and killed him.
Well, he was thinking to himself, okay, I'm going to wait here and see how far Vicky Vale will take this.
No, he was saying, now I'm going to, see, that's what I'm saying about sadistic. He was going to torture this man before he ended him, so.
Now, the bats get the kill on the Penguin. He didn't do anything to help him.
Right.
When the Penguin falls to his death.
I'm fairly certain that was just planned outcome on that. I mean, he's just like, he just baits him into it.
Well, there you go. You're right. Because if he's the Batman, the all-knowing Batman, right? It's like, that's my point too. If he was planning, I'm gonna let the bats out. They're gonna engulf him until he's face first in the ground, and then I'll get the upper hand on him or whatever. I could put his arms behind him, break his legs, and then the bats moved him to the window and he fell to his death. Well, I didn't plan it that way, but
it worked.
Yeah, one way is as good as another, right? So
I don't want to get too much into that, but I was just like, one of the issues I had with people that thought maybe he was too violent, and it's like, well, if your favorite was Keaton, you really don't have a leg to stand on there because did some violent stuff in that too.
So you brought up the spear, and we didn't even explain that for anybody. Again, the two people that didn't see this film because they thought it sucked or whatever. But yeah, so he's got this. He makes a kryptonite spear. That's what gets you to the last act of the film, and I don't know. I guess the best way I can describe it sort of reminded me. You remember Predator 2? The Predator has this alien hunter that comes to Earth to kill people, hunt them like trophies. For those of you that don't know, it's a fun little kids movie, and this is the sequel to it. He has this spear where it's sort of small, and then just when he wants to use it, it extends out. Right, I probably should have just said it's essentially like a selfie stick for that to be more modern, because it kind of does extend like a selfie stick, but it looks a lot cooler than a selfie stick, and it's got a kryptonite tip spearhead on it, which he was intending to use to kill Superman, and this is that climactic battle. I mean,
the whole fight sequence I liked. I like the fact that they set the tone for what the intentions are. So Superman's there for our help. Batman's there to, I'm doing air quotes, save the human race by taking out the alien menace of Superman. So his mindset is clearly not where it should be. He's he's gone down a cruel path because he's not used to this, you know?
Yeah.
He has that feeling of helplessness. And so now he's out to stop Superman. And so they have the fight. It's cool. It's brutal stuff. The moment he hits that kryptonite grenade on him, that's like, uh-oh, here comes trouble. And then I love the way Cavill sells it, too.
Okay, but, you know, here's the thing, too, is like with those grenade capsules, again, I think there's enough ambiguity there. You really can kind of take it how you want to. I just took it as straight up kryptonite grenade. Eric Leon, you know, rated EDL, right? He took it as when he tells him, breathe it in, that's fear. He took it as that Batman has laced that or experimented with Scarecrow's fear toxin, you know, and mixed the two of them. And it's like you can take it that way if you want. That would certainly be an advantage, you know, to Batman. So it's like, you know, just kind of wigging Superman out even more than the usual kryptonite, you know, grenade to the face, right? The old idea that Superman can't see through lead, those gas bombs to me, I thought to myself, I look a little bit darker than usual, so I wondered if those like lead-based. If you have a passing knowledge of the universe beforehand.
See, the funny thing is, as far as that grenade thing, I take it as it's just the kryptonite grenade, but the thought had crossed my mind a couple of times, like, or is there like some fear toxin mixed in there? Yeah, because you never know. I mean, it's clearly a Batman that's been around a while, so, you know, maybe he does have some of that, and some of that useful, but I always took it as just that, but the thought had crossed my mind of, well, maybe it's not just kryptonite. But everything about that, the whole, you know, the way the actors are going, the way Cavill and Affleck, like the part with the sound that you're talking about, and like when Clark's trying to reason with him and then the sound hits him, the smirk on that Affleck delivers as Batman, just how like the smug, like proud, like, yes, this is going my way. Look, I love that. It's just like, I love the way he does that. I love
that like sadistic thing to it, like, yep, got it.
Yeah. And then I love the way that when Superman's first hit with it, the way that he's taking that in, like the way he's jerking around. This is not something he's used to. This is all going through his body. It's like, you know, I like the way that worked. When they get down to inside the building, this happens. This is one of like my favorite spots in this whole thing is. After Batman's like beat him down for a while, and then it has that close up of Superman. The music kind of shifts, so it kind of sets it up that you know what's about to happen. And sure enough, Batman goes to kick him in the head.
There you go again, communicating through film and video, and that's what good films do.
And then
this film didn't do that. Yeah,
and then Superman catches his leg because the music has shifted. Now you know, okay, Superman's turn.
It's the Superman thing. It's like dun, dun,
and so it's
dun,
like,
dun,
and so it's like, okay, time for the shift, time for the switch and momentum. So
just lobs him through like three different levels of the wall there.
I love the fact he throws him through the walls. When he charges at him, it's not an immediate switch in momentum because Batman does have enough strength to get him up against the wall.
Yeah.
And then start wailing on him. This is one of my favorite scenes, partly because I am a wrestling fan. But he does what I call a Ric Flair spot.
Yeah, give that Ric Flair, yeah.
Right. For those that don't know, because a lot of you probably aren't wrestling fans, or if you are, you might recall this and like,
legendary professional wrestler.
Right. And so there would be this spot he would have where he's known for chopping people. Basically, it would be kind of like a slap on the chest, but real hard.
Yeah.
So he would
to the point where when he slaps them, the audience would go woo.
Right. So he had a spot that everyone kind of knows is he would get his opponent on the corner. He would start chopping them. Initially the opponent's like hurting, like, oh, this, you know, it's hurting. He's slapping real hard. Eventually they would just like stop selling it, and so he'd be like chopping them, and they'd just be standing there looking at him. Maybe he'd take a step or two forward, and he would realize, oh no. And then back off and kind of beg off, like, no.
Yeah, he put his hands up, like, hey, wait, slow down here. Hey, no hard feelings.
Right, and so essentially that scene happens in this movie.
Yeah, the Ric
Batman pins Superman to the wall. He starts wailing on him. Like, the first 2 or 3 shots, Superman
moves his chin
Superman's
like he's
getting rocked. Then, like, the next couple of them, he's just standing there. And then Batman lands one more, and then it rings.
Yeah, the metal rings, like he just hit metal on metal, right?
And then Superman and then they had the look of Superman's face of like, yeah, what else you got, or whatever, and then the look on Batman, then
he does the exact, Ric Flair, he puts his hand out like,
the Ric Flair
hey, no hard feelings here, guy,
right? So I really love that part.
Batman realizes this is about to hurt. Well, so they go together tumbling through walls and all that stuff, and again, they call back to the music used during the Superman and Zod fight. So you're getting into that kind of they're establishing a kind of a universe here, and there are certain themes that work for certain sections, right? And oh no, they're reusing everything again. All the critics say this stuff. The people that want to hate on it, I'm like, yeah, gee, like what's that again? What's that one franchise? Oh yeah, Star Wars, where certain music shows up for certain sequences for certain reasons. Again, why you appreciate everything else over there and then hate on this one for no reason is just because it's executed really well. And again, I'm mostly a Superman fan who doesn't like to sit to these type of things, but I was impressed by it and enjoyed all of that.
What's funny is, for the record, I don't think storyline-wise that's what happened. I don't think Batman was like, no, don't hurt me. I think it was more like what your brother was saying of like, oh no. But visually, I think there's no mistaking that was the Ric Flair spot.
Yeah. Well, again, there's that, like, again, there's a couple of different layers
to
almost everything that happens in this film. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just pure surface value at point A to point B.
And then, side note, very small detail, but I did love the fact that during basically the climax, the third act of the film, we do get the Superman curl.
It's sort of like he earns the curl as he's been through all this that he's been through.
That's kind of how I took it too.
Yeah, and then he's going through all this, and it's this fight, like a bare knuckle, ruthless, just, like I said, knockdown, drag out brawl to the extreme, taking each other to the extreme, taking punishment like you've never had before. And as that happens, the Superman curl falls, kind of like breaks loose from Cavill's hair, just kind of hangs there, and it remains throughout the rest of the film.
Like, basically, like the classic curl. I mean, it's not the classic because it's on the wrong side, but whatever.
Yeah, and this is the thing too. Like, I always, and again, people get so angry because like, well, you're not speaking for me, right?
Right.
Well, no kidding. I can only tell you the perspective that I'm seeing and give you my opinions. Who else is what I give you? For a lot of years, I heard people would always say that as like, oh, the criticism for the DC universe recently, it has been these films. Well, they don't take their time with everything. Come on now, pay attention. They are setting this up as step by step, slowly, as any franchise I can really think of in a long time, because Man of Steel is almost like what they call a zero issue, which would mean it's almost like the Man of Steel film is sort of like a prequel to this universe really getting started. And even Batman versus Superman is sort of a prequel to this universe getting started, to all these heroes being introduced to the world, reacting to each other, and then eventually they'll have to form the Justice League. They're step by step, like you said, going through the process. So throughout a film and a half, he doesn't really have the curl, and then now he has it. He's got it. He's earned it. His costume is slowly brightening up and becoming more the traditional Superman costume. So it's like a slow evolution. Like, if again, in the comic book, sometimes there's a comic book run that might go 20 issues, and by the end of it, step by step through the issues, the character slowly gets to a point that's more recognizable. And this is what this universe is giving us. Again, people just seem to be detached from what's being given to them.
Right.
Because some people, the criticism is, well, it's going too fast, they're rushing everything. And then other people are like, oh God, it's so boring, it's so slow, get to the good stuff already. And people are just setting this thing up as like a straw man that can't win no matter what they give you.
I see it pretty much the same way. Off topic on that, kind of, not really, but let's see. I wanted to correct you on one thing, and that was the curl throughout the movie. He actually doesn't have it throughout the movie. When they get to the next fight, the Doomsday section, it's gone again. He has the regular hair until he gets the
so that's the thing too that I like about there's the thing that I like about it is that it's sort of like it's there and it's recognizable and it's undeniably the Superman curl, but it's always been that joke about how does the curl remain in place throughout the entire time, right? So it's kind of like it's a strand of hair that falls. And to me, it's fine. I'm not going to nitpick that. Then what has he got? He got some Kryptonian super gel in there. I got that sports gel, man. Yeah, I prim it up, and it remains in place. A lot of Kryptonian hairspray there. That's something I would expect out of like a Joel Schumacher film. But
yeah, I like that, and I like the fact that when it shows up, I think are the two biggest parts of the movie. Obviously, both of those fight scenes. It shows up during the Batman fight, and then I believe it's still there during the first part of the Doomsday fight before they go out into space.
Yeah.
I think it goes away when he comes back from space. And I think the key thing here is it comes back before the end, before the sacrifice. And I think that's intentional and very important. They wanted to make that as classic Superman as possible. I think that's the reason he goes back again, and then his hair gets wet again, so then There goes the curl one more time. Here's a recognizable look. That is Superman in all his glory.
Yeah.
Not all his glory because he's not standing tall, but he's down. He's beaten, and yet he's going forward because that's what he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he keeps going. He does what he needs to do. And so you see him there. He has his curl. Again, he picks up the spear and goes. Those are two things I think that was very important on their part, just to throw in that little classic curl, just like you said, show that's the character. That's the character we all know. He has the curl right there. They don't make a big deal out of it, but it's, I think, intentional that happens right before that.
But yeah, and like you're saying, yeah, they're establishing a more recognizable thing. And, again, a lot of the people that I see heavily criticize this film out there that have got themselves in the public eye, and they heavily criticize it, to me, it just makes so little sense because, well, they always say, or these particular people, they're fond of saying, well, it doesn't have to be just like the comic books. It's an adaptation. And that's true because you cannot claim to be a comic book purist that it must be just like the comic books, right? And then sit there and say to yourself, well, that's why I love the Marvel Universe, because the Marvel Universe is so far removed from their comic books. Doomsday is created in this film.
Right.
And to me, like I said, I love this. I absolutely love this because the point about Doomsday is that he was originally created by an ancient, twisted alien who was a scientist. He essentially just killed this creature over and over and over again. He kind of tried to force the Darwinian evolution upon him so that he would always get better and evolve to not be killed. He would evolve or to grow impervious to what killed him. That's what wound up happening. Whatever would kill him, he would grow a defense to it and become impervious to it the next time around. He was trying to create the perfect killing machine. Then it gets out of hand, it kills him. The Kryptonians, in the history of the comic books here, the Kryptonians had to finally take it down. And, of course, they sent it off into deep space, and they got buried on this little blue planet out in the middle of nowhere, which wound up being Earth. And then all of a sudden the creature awakes, literally punches his way out from underneath the Earth, and then fights Superman, and then Superman dies in the ensuing battle, right? Or they both die, quote unquote. Although technically, they would later come back to say they essentially knocked each other into long comas.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
it's kind of funny. They're both dead. And it's like, no, they both weren't. They both just
they punch each other so hard they knock each other into extended comas. So, anyways, think about this. In the film, they talk about that there's this chamber that it's established in the film prior. This chamber is what created all life except for Superman. Superman was a natural-born baby and the first natural birth in a long, long time. They were a genetically enhanced, genetically designed race for a long time. They were being genetically engineered, grown in this kind of Genesis chamber, or that's what they called it, and they're grown in this kind of underwater tube. And Lex takes Zod's body, and that was so freaking cool. When I saw him cut, he takes a tiny kryptonite scalpel he's made,
right,
and he's cutting on General Zod's body. And I thought, the way it's shown at first, I thought, oh, he's cutting, like cutting cells off his body. Like if you've been in like 8th grade science class and you get a tiny cell and they put it under a microscope. I don't know if everybody else had that experience in science class, right? So I thought, oh, he's cutting off, some skin cells so he can kind of examine his Kryptonian cells. I'm over here all over the place. But no, it's not that. Or maybe he did. But what he wound up doing, though, is he pasted the fingerprints of General Zod onto his finger so he could touch the Kryptonian computer. The Kryptonian computer identifies him as Kryptonian. So that's why, would you like to assume command? He can say, yes, I can. And then later, now that they have a Kryptonian in charge, this Kryptonian says, hey, how about Lex Luthor takes control? Exactly, right? So it's like, the computer the ship is reading it as Lex Luthor, you're in command now. Which I thought, oh, that's awesome. That's incredible. And then so he goes about it tells him their Kryptonian database has knowledge from 100,000 worlds. And he says, fine, teach me, right? Mm-hmm. And which is a little bit of a callback to the original Superman films, but also a perfect example. This Lex Luthor character will always, that fight for knowledge, that fight for information, even if it's forbidden information, right?
Right.
So he gets that. And then you come back to it, and he drops General Zod's body into this Genesis chamber. The computer identifies it, General Zod of Kandor. And then, he talks about commencing the mutation process to mutate Zod into what will become Doomsday later. But the computer says it's like access denied or something, right? This act has been deemed as outlawed by the Kryptonian Council. In the computer, the artificial intelligence almost goes off on a little bit of a rant because it's also matter of fact. Like, would you like to take command? Oh, no, this act has been forbidden.
Right.
But then it starts rambling almost. So I'm thinking, number one here could be a little hint to the self-awareness of a Brainiac. I would love it if Carla Gugino, who voices, she's in a lot of Zack Snyder films. She played Silk Spectre in Watchmen. She's the voice of the Kryptonian computers, the Kryptonian sensor. That would be awesome if they introduced that artificial intelligence as Brainiac, and then this awesome female actress could play Brainiac. That would be a great twist. But that's a little hint there. But if you want to read into that again, if you want to look into that layer, that might be there. But it starts rambling about it's a forbidden act. So horrible to sight and memory, the desecration without name. That's exactly how Doomsday is looked at and seen and described in the comic books, and of course also too Lex Luthor just so awesome. He's like, and where is the Council of Krypton? Destroyed. Exactly. Proceed. Anyways, that was an awesome little piece of dialogue sequence, right? But he cuts his hand also. That original scientist created Doomsday by using his genetic material to help birth him. So again, but for one or two small changes, you're getting the classic origin of Doomsday, essentially getting him almost perfect. And here's the thing. Throughout this film, he suffers all these battles, and they talk about it keeps getting stronger. Every time we hit it, it feeds off the attack, it feeds off the injury, or the energy, right? And it's growing stronger. And it's exposed to kryptonite, and then its skin is penetrated, and it's killed with kryptonite, or killed into a coma, we assume, with kryptonite by Superman, right? This Doomsday could easily come back and come back again, and now it will be classic Doomsday even more, because in the comics they talk about one of the reasons that Doomsday was able to bring such damage to Superman and scar him up and he really induced a lot of blood out of the comic book Superman is because he's supposed to have kryptonite lace spear tips, so his spines are kryptonite. There's always been that kind of hint that they play with that idea. Well, yeah, he got hit with the kryptonite bomb from Batman, the grenade. Then Superman spears him, and he lets off this energy blast. And if you look closely, it's this sort of kind of green kryptonite cloud encompasses the center where him and Superman are at. So when that Doomsday comes back, he will be evolved now. He will be now invulnerable or impervious to the kryptonite. And Superman won't be. So you'll have another classic Doomsday, and especially if that kryptonite spear, kind of like Superman Returns, or maybe a little shred of those spines, the kryptonite spears pieces. If they're inside of him, again, now he's got that kryptonite within him. The kryptonite might be a part of his arsenal. He might have a kryptonite blast that's laced with kryptonite, or kryptonite spines, just like the comics. This guy, again, they have built this character perfectly. And then here's the other part. This is crazy comic book rambling. But understand how much respect, in my opinion, is being paid here, because all that is there, it's lined up. And he also, the character of Doomsday, he evolves in the comics. So eventually he evolves so much, though, he becomes self-aware. Like, he actually has a brain to think and talk. And that's what happens, is that's his drawback, because as he evolves the mind, and then he realizes, well, I can eventually be killed one day. So that is sort of, he's introduced to the concept of fear. And that's how that's the I think that's the Hunter Prey comic book, right, with Superman, where he evolves, and that was the second '90s one where Superman has that kind of weird outfit, and they're fighting again. But I know that's
a very '90s outfit.
Yeah, so the storyline is there. So here's the crazy part: this creature could evolve back into Zod, and Zod could be back. Like I said, that's why I said in my YouTube review, they left themselves all these avenues. They can literally take this anywhere they want to go. They can literally go wherever they want to take it from here. It was handled that good, despite the fact it's slightly different, but actually not that different. I mean, doesn't that just blow your mind? Like, that to me was just like, I can't think of another film that did something like that, where it was a retcon, but not a retcon, and yet they still paid absolute tribute to the established history.
That's one thing. That's why I'm worried about the reviews, like I said before, because they have this thing that they set in motion, and I'm worried reviews and negativity is going to alter that. So that's what I get worried about on that. let's see. As far as what did you think about the whole scene, the whole fight scene, Doomsday?
Yeah,
Wonder Woman,
I was just about to
Superman?
ask you too. What did you think of Wonder Woman when she showed up? Because it's in the trailers, but it's slightly different, and in my opinion, way cooler. Obviously, you're watching the film, but did you have a general reaction to when she showed up?
Well, I mean, besides the creepy reaction, it was like, oh, here it is. Here we go, the Trinity. It's happening. One thing that I loved that happened in the fight that was on all the trailers that was different. I don't know if this is what you're talking about. Was I thought is she with you? I thought she was with you line.
Mm-hmm.
I love it in the trailers. It just shows up like, oh, here's Wonder Woman. Hey, is she with you? I thought she was with you. And it's like, a place for a laugh on the trailer, but then they do it in the movie. The joke isn't wasted. I think it's sadly wasted because people probably flew over their heads.
Yeah.
And that is, she says, basically, Superman's like, hey, this guy's from my planet. He's from another world. He's not just some whatever creature. It's not going to be a simple kill. And then she's like, I've killed creatures from other planets. And essentially what Batman was trying to do.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's the joke. Like, wait a minute, is this one with you? Because you were trying to kill me, and now she's over like, I kill people. I killed things.
Yes,
from other planets
I've killed things from other worlds before.
Right.
Yeah, he looks right at Batman. Is she with you? Yeah.
So they essentially throw the joke out in the trailers, but have enough in there that it's still
that's
useful
what I'm
there.
saying. There's like multiple layers, and we talked about the Lex Luthor thing. Like he's talking about Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm.
I took it the same way too. I took it more of that, like you said, she's so detail orientated. When she comes down and talks about this creature, it feeds off energy. She's kind of giving the battle analysis,
Right?
Sorry to say, but basically she's more Captain America in that one line. That one appearance she has in that one line before the shot of all three of them together, she's more Captain America than he's been in all the movies and recent comics, in my opinion, because the Captain America that I grew up with, at least, the one that I'm used to being the more definitive one, in my opinion, that he's that battlefield general straight off the bat, examine, analysis, attack type of thing. And she was great at that too. Like, I think my favorite thing with her all without a doubt, when she has the fight with Doomsday, and Doomsday just tosses her through, I don't know, cars and wreckage and everything. Her shield flies off that way. She eventually loses the grip on her hand. And she has this look on her face like she's almost like she's a little bit turned on. Like this.
Oh, she's enjoying it.
Yeah, this is
just
a fight. Like this, it's a smile and a shake of the head. And then like this just like joyous smile of like battle again, right? Like it's been a long time. She's such a bad actress. When I saw that is what they meant. I understood that. That's why they cast her. That's why she won the auditions. Because to be in battle and read the lines and all that, but that little kind of like the joy of battle, and it's such an incredible moment. It's sort of like in a movie when somebody gets punched in the lip and they bleed, and then they take a lick of the blood and they just kind of smile, right? It's kind of like that, without being that kind of the cliche with the licking the blood, right? But like you said, it's just. I was communicated to me the sense of like, she ain't had this much fun in a long time. She ain't been in a battle like this in a long, long time, right? And she is loving every second of it, right? So I am ecstatic to see more of her, ecstatic to see the Amazon. The thing is, Amazon culture is like her, and that Amazon culture produced her. Holy freaking crap. Like, yeah, let's go. I love the fact they pushed up the Wonder Woman. I can't wait now. I loved it. I loved her theme. I love the way the theme, it's kind of like, it ebbs and flows also at the same time when she's looking at Doomsday and the camera's tight on her, and then she hears the thunderous crack in the sky, and you see Superman. He's returned and just knocks Doomsday into this just conveniently, oil power plant that's just sitting there or whatever, and buys them some time. And again, like you said, the sequence is just so good. He walks up to Batman. He actually lands right in front of Batman, and he's like, "Did you get the spear?" So they're on the same page, and Batman gives him this look like, you not see my wreck ship behind me? You see me crawling out? That's the look he gives him. He's like, I've been a little busy, right? And then that goes to the Wonder Woman scene, the Wonder Woman scene, which is great. The epic shot of the Trinity together, and it hangs for a lot longer in the film, and the music hits it perfectly. So, and then again, the music picks up and cues some more because Wonder Woman about to go to battle. Did you love that? I freaking love that. I'm telling you, I love this girl. I love freaking Wonder Woman. I love Gal Gadot.
See,
Gal Gadot.
I have no idea where I first found out about her, but I've had like the hots for her for like the longest time. So it was funny when they were saying she was going to be.
I know you were just like, girl. No,
no, they were saying she was going to be in it. I was like, or when they were putting up the people that were going to be in it.
Yeah.
It was a weird thing because I saw her on it and I was thinking, ooh, hopefully it's her, but hopefully it's not Wonder Woman. Because you know, she was real skinny and that was like the big criticism. But no issues with her as Wonder Woman.
Have you seen the pictures of her getting ready for
I have, yeah.
Boy, she is jacked, man. Right? So, yeah, she's going to be incredible.
So I was just like...
I can't wait. I believe, personally, it's my belief, I get to make a prediction here.
Okay.
You know, I believe she will be to Wonder Woman what Christopher Reeve was to Superman. I believe she'll nail that.
That's a bold prediction.
Yeah,
there.
I believe, well, you know, this kind of, like I said, sort of a newcomer for the most part. I believe she's going to be this. I think a better accurate take would be more of Keaton to Batman, because there was some acting history and people were like, Mr. Mom is going to be Batman. He's got curly hair and he's short, and Beetlejuice he's going to kick people off buildings and then be like, nice model, honk honk. So a little bit more like that, but I'm putting a mix between Reeve and Keaton, which I probably just makes what I said even more, you know, like, well, you're putting pressure on this girl. Like I said, what I saw of her, I saw why she won those auditions, in my opinion. And it was those little moments.
Right.
But, you know, even like there's a scene where her angle, she's trying to get this picture that proves that she exists. Because it's her picture in the 1900s. You know, people have that stuff where they're like, hey, look, Nicolas Cage is a vampire. He's 100 years old, this guy. But the guy kind of looks like Nicolas Cage. No, this is full on, that's Gal Gadot. That's the same person. That's Gal Gadot. I also love her reaction. Like, again, that little acting scene, I don't think she says anything. She's reading something. Then just the way her head drops to her forehead, like, you know, like the secret is out. It's almost like, you know, and that plays into their later conversations when they're at Clark Kent's funeral at the Kent farm, right? That she has a conversation with Bruce Wayne. But it's like, you know, I just love those little things about her. So I'm anticipating she's going to be tremendous because I saw enough of that here. And that freaking jump, that freaking battle cry, man, when she's just like, you know, I don't know if it's an effect or the camera, the way she launches herself towards Doomsday and the battle cry, right. I just freaking loved it. And then her and Superman tag teaming Doomsday. I'm like, this is a freaking trinity right here is fighting. Yeah, Batman's over there doing nothing. It's not a fist fight for him.
Batman's contribution to it is like one of my only gripes about the fights.
Well, I loved it because, you know, again, he didn't just show up and kick Doomsday in the groin and be like, there, now take him down. You know, I did the hard work. Not over the top Bruce Timm type stuff. And again, when he's watching, standing by, and he realizes that Doomsday spotted him, that look on Affleck's face is like, move. He gets up on a building top. And then there's that classic lightning blast. So they set up that classic Dark Knight Returns image. And then he again uses the second, the grappling hook to get away again. But he crashes. It's a near miss. He nearly gets killed.
Right.
Crashes into a building site. Even is like, you know.
Throws a smoke grenade. Gets out of dodge.
He threw the smoke grenade over there so that he could then dive into the smoke and dive into a hole to hide. You know, and then that's why even Doomsday.
It's funny because the first time I saw it, I thought he was throwing it to like, don't get me or you can't, whatever. Yeah. But I realized after, no, he's throwing it so when he lands, Doomsday hopefully doesn't know where he landed. He can get out of...
Yeah, and hide off anywhere. Yeah, but even Doomsday, too, it kind of, for a second, he looks, and then it's like, okay, it turns his attention back to the, you know, to the main two that are taking him on.
Right.
You know, and like I said, I just felt that, I didn't feel that anything was too uneven. I thought it was all even-handed. Superman, again, he doesn't... As much as I love the guy, and I'd love to see him be Silver Age Superman and just snap Doomsday in half or whatever, right, with his pinky. That's my favorite Superman, is the Silver Age Superman, right? Yeah, you know, he gets swatted a couple of times. He's fighting with him. Even when they match each other's eye blasts, Superman gets zapped away.
Right.
And then but he gets zapped away, and he doesn't like, oh, you know, Bruce Timm's cartoon would have like, his clothes, all of his costume would have been burnt all to hell.
Been down, he would have stumbled around and then laid down on the floor for a while.
Yeah, I'm woozy. Oh man, I'm such a wimp. And, Batman's the best. What did he say? Oh, nothing. You know, and then like bleeding from his eyeball. No, he gets zapped away, and Cavill Superman rolls through the rubble, shoots back up, and gets ready to go back for a second attack. He stops in mid attack because Lois Lane's over there drowning herself like an idiot, and. I think that's the biggest part I've heard most people have a problem with Lois Lane. But again, I don't. You don't just leave the kryptonite spear laying out.
Right.
So she went to go try to throw it somewhere to be like, hey, I threw it in that water pit or whatever. But then she realizes, well, how does she know? She knew there was a problem at the Kryptonian ship.
This is one of the issues that, not with the film, but with That's one of the things. Well, how did she know?
Yeah, she knew there was a problem with control. They were all talking about it.
Everyone knows that there's a thing going on over there. It only makes sense.
She tells Batman and Superman there's something going on at the Kryptonian ship. So she knows, well, this thing here can kill, or obviously was about to kill Superman. Okay, that they might need that. Right. So she goes back for it. And then again, it's just the classic Lois Lane, always in the middle of things. Going back to the Fleischer serials that I grew up with, always in the middle of trouble, always getting herself in the position where Superman, has to come and try to get her out of the mess that she's got herself in, right?
Right.
But serving a purpose too. And again, all the haters, that's funny how you haven't heard them when they were like, oh, this room's going to be so full of all these characters, and a great actress like Amy Adams and a great character like Lois Lane. They were bashing her just one film ago, but then they were like, well, obviously she's not going to be in it at all. She has no time. They're not going to use her. They're going to waste having her. Wrong. Yeah, your wildest dreams, but she plays a pivotal part in this entire film. Plays a pivotal part, yeah. That's, Amy Adams is kind of a dirty girl. And then plays a pivotal role in a lot of the major sequences, including the final climactic battle.
When I was saying Batman's contribution was my one of my gripes on the fight, it wasn't what he did. It wasn't that the lack of what he did. It's that, when they have basically Wonder Woman has Doomsday lasso, Superman's flying over there with the spear, and then Batman shoots him with the grenade.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very cheesy and not well executed shot to zoom in on the close up of Batman.
No, the way it's filmed then, okay.
Yeah, it's the way it was filmed, not what he does on it. It's fine, yeah, shoot the grenade. It's just the way that it's like it pans to where is he? There he is. Zoom. There's Batman. It's like that's unnecessary for essentially just weakening the guy up a little bit.
Yeah, well, again, I took it as a little bit. I took it as the filmmaker for all these criticisms of the film. I took it as him. He's trying in every scene the best he can to help the audience understand what's going on. And that's why, like I said, I just will disagree, furiously with all of the criticisms because, you see Doomsday going crazy. I believe Superman takes off flying for him, and then it cuts to Doomsday, close, kind of a tight-on shot of Doomsday's upper body, and he's just, going to go for another blast or something. And then this sort of kind of orangish, goldish thing slides over the top of him. And you realize it's Wonder Woman's golden lasso, the golden lasso of truth, one of the biggest things in her mythology.
Right.
And it's like, and the thing about this, though, you know what? I'm sorry, bear with me. Please bear with me, guys. You know what? I should be ashamed of myself. Because the way I just described it, again, I'm a classic film guy, and I have no problem comparing this to classic films in history, but the original Cleopatra film, like the kind of grand Hollywood epic of Cleopatra with, Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor and Rex Harrison and all these guys, right? And it's the Roddy McDowall who plays Caesar Augustus. And when they say, "Sir, Mark Antony is dead," and the great Roman character Mark Antony, right? Then he's like, "Mark Antony is dead? Is that how you say it? Is that how one says it? Mark Antony is dead. The soup is warm. The soup is cold. What do you call it? You should count yourself lucky to have lived in the time of Mark Antony. You should be screamed from the mountaintops and echo to the heavens. Mark Antony of Rome is dead." Oh yeah, the Wonder Woman lasso and the Wonder Woman, the freaking lasso of freaking truth, the golden lasso of Wonder Woman, the great DC Comics mythology. It's thrown over the top of Doomsday, and then Wonder Woman, you realize she's got it in her hand. She's using it to leverage, Doomsday into a position, right? She's holding on, giving the effort of all time to hold on for dear life. As Superman, the greatest superhero of all time, just eat it tough. You don't like it, right? Makes his way towards Doomsday to take him. So again, Zack Snyder, he set that up for you in such an epic way to be respected, with comic book mythology all over the place there. And then this kind of green cloud hits him, so the camera turns. There's Batman. Oh, Batman just shot the grenade. He had one round. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's how I took it that way. Again, I'm not criticizing your little criticism of the way you saw it, but that's how I saw it and took it, and was a little, again, as you can tell, a little bit charged up about it. But so I had to correct myself there, because I feel like talking like I'm dead or something. Like, she throws the golden lasso. This is some freaking epic comic bookness right there, if I do say so myself. But maybe it's just me. I mean,
it was epic stuff, but I could have done without the zoom. I think they could have just done poof, cloud of smoke, and then had that basically what it zooms up to, which is him lowering the gun down. Yeah, like I said, I only had the issue on the power, the extra power, which I'm willing to easily say, whatever, if it's done specifically to keep Batman out of harm's reach or whatever. And then
probably, like I said, probably was that.
Right.
But then also, that's why I think is more important is that just another reason because he's going to be in the middle of that blast too. Another reason they all took damage because he's depowered. Doomsday would be depowered because the kryptonite and the kryptonite spear, and now he's suffering from his own blast too. So like I think that is more like you said, probably that, and then also just more quote unquote icing on the little death cake there.
Right. And then also just the zoom, which I thought was unnecessary. Just cut to Batman lowering the thing. You don't have to. Where is he? There he is. Zoom in. I didn't like that part, but overall, no, I love that. I love the whole fight sequence. I love the end because that's Superman, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something. Basically, they've been trying to do this forever.
Yeah.
Basically, since way back when. I remember even in the Christopher Reeve days, they had a script. One of them, which never got made, where he was going to die and then come back.
I believe it was Brainiac in that one.
Right.
So it was like the death of Superman almost exactly, but Brainiac was
right. And so, it's been something they've been toying with forever. So to see it actually happen, and then for me, the thing that I always said should happen is what they did. He didn't come back at the end. And that is something that you mentioned about before with the shot of the newspaper when Perry White picks it up and it's Superman dead.
Superman dead.
I did have that flash to Returns, and I was a little pissed at Returns for putting that because the first time you see that should be a big deal instead of we saw that before and it wasn't. I got that he wanted to make it a joke out of it, but don't make a joke out of it. Boom, took it serious, too serious. Don't make a joke of that. Superman's dead. It's real.
Superman, Superman Returns. The Force Awakens 10 years beforehand. It failed epically.
But, and I loved everything about it. And what were your thoughts on the future, basically, for Superman? Because I know before you were saying you think that they may pull in stuff from the New 52. For those of you that didn't know, on the New 52, which is what's going on currently in the comics, basically everyone knows Clark Kent is Superman.
Yeah.
They all know he's Superman. And before I was telling you, it's like, I think you're right. I think that might be what happens because they buried Clark Kent. In the original Death of Superman, Clark is presumed dead. They never buried him. He's presumed dead and missing. So when Superman comes back and they make it a point, he finds some people that were buried and trapped for years. And then, I don't know if it was Lois or Jimmy or Perry, someone's like, I wonder if Clark's in that situation.
Yeah.
And then Superman's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And basically that's the excuse for Clark Kent to come back. He was buried and trapped. That's not the case here. Clark Kent
my sense on it, what I feel they're going to do, just my gut feeling thinks that they're leaning that way, is that they're going to toy with this whole idea of metahumans and experimentation and all that stuff. So my guess is they'll do something just as simple as like Darkseid is the villain and all this stuff goes on, parademon attack or whatever, and in the same way that they'll explain, hey, this guy what's Cyborg's real name? I'm sorry, it's Ray Fisher's the actor, but
Victor Stone.
Yeah, Victor Stone was this athlete and this could have been a professional football player or whatever, and he was injured. And then all of a sudden he's back, and he's this cyborg thing, right? In the same way they'll explain that, like I said, I think they're going to touch on this sort of, and because of the heavy religious themes that they don't mind kind of using in this film, in this universe, right? I think they'll just say, this kind of resurrection thing, and I think my gut instinct tells me they'll be like, so I don't know what same way they were saying like, maybe Clark was in that, right? They'll just say, Clark got resurrected too, and my sense is that it'll be more that, but again. They just set themselves up so well. They can do any of that. They can pull from the New 52. They can do something different. They can pull from the comics from the last 2 decades. Really, they could turn this in. They could carry it through and turn it into a Green Lantern Black Ring thing and resurrect Clark Kent and a bunch of other people that way. Like that's what I said. They truly did not box themselves into any real corners here. Just a tiny change here or there, and the same way they did to bring Doomsday alive to be in this world. A couple of tiny changes like that, they can take any classic comic book storyline or make a new one. You know what? Make you feel better. your boy Jimmy Olsen could come back to life. I know you didn't like it.
Officially, he's not actually dead. They never named him.
Well, yeah, we did. Exactly.
And
he's shot off camera.
Smallville reference. Well, no, he shot off camera, but he wasn't officially named Jimmy Olsen.
People have survived.
But Smallville reference here. This wouldn't be the first time Jimmy Olsen was killed. On Smallville, he was actually killed by Doomsday.
What the?
Yeah, only then for at the funeral to reveal that the guy's name was what was it? Henry James Olsen. So it wasn't Jimmy Olsen. So cop out. They could easily do that here too. They could be like, oh no, it's not Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
But no, for me, one of the things I thought was, they're going to go to the New 52 where everyone knows he's Clark Kent. Yeah. Then a thing that I don't know if it was on an interview or something, but I could have swore I remember somewhere where Zack Snyder basically kind of said, he kind of put it out there that Smallville knows who he is.
Okay, yeah.
And that makes sense, that it would be like, yeah, Smallville
just kind of keep the secret.
Right. Because I am thinking that it's probably, Smallville does know. It's a small town. I imagine when you see the line of people going there, I imagine that's probably pretty much the town. That's probably Smallville. That's all there. And
this history with this kid is established of a lot of weird and strange things happening with him. And that alien message is seen the world over, and this battle just seems to so happen to take place in downtown Smallville.
Right.
The guy that looks suspiciously like the newly returned Clark Kent,
Yeah, I imagine that, I imagine they know who he is. There's, in Man of Steel, there's even that brief moment when they're in the IHOP and then Pete looks at him.
Hey, Dick Splash!
So you don't see his face, but from what I can tell, he's not wearing his glasses. Yeah. So basically everybody that's there... see Superman in a casket.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem. I would always prefer to go with the secret identity just because it's that extra element of him having to do the extra work to remain, to keep it a secret, to keep his family from being involved in it. Because that to me is a big thing that has to be addressed going forward. How the heck do you keep Martha Kent safe now? So there's going to have to be some Kryptonian sentries and maybe an Amazon warrior plus some Batman technology and surveillance all around the Kent farm, to make sure nobody just goes straight for Superman's mom, because it's kind of going to be that could be a very easy Achilles heel, But again, like I'm just open to the idea, and I'm interested to it. I don't have a big problem with it, like I said, especially because it did such a good job and they opened up all those avenues. Go for it. Yeah, I'd like to see a Superman 4 sequence where he's trying to hide his identity and go back and forth. I like to see that in a much better film overall, than what Superman 4 turned out to be. But, it's like, I'm fine if they just say, hey, everybody knows, Clark Kent or whatever. Because they could even go that aspect of saying, well, yeah, of course, why would he try to hide his, try to hide his identity and stuff.
See, I'm hoping that it's a secret identity one where it's just Smallville, because that's fine. I'm cool with the idea that Smallville knows, but the rest of the world doesn't. It's their own little... Yeah, we know who he is. I mean, even in the New 52, before the world knew, it was basically kind of put out there that Smallville knew he was Superman.
Yeah.
They lived there through it, They lived there when he was a kid, and he was doing all these things, and now he goes to Metropolis, and lo and behold, Superman shows up, so that they knew. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is probably the case in this one.
And, and again, to reference Superman 4... just because I've seen the movie so much since childhood, and I wound up loving it because of childhood memories and all that stuff. It's sort of definitely a cult, what you would call a cult classic film for me personally, and with between me and my friends and a lot of family. But the thing is, again, the film is a train wreck disaster, sure, but there is a ton in there that was admirable. And one of the many things, like you just mentioned, you get the sense in that film that Lois Lane knows exactly who Superman is, or at least feels it to a strong degree. Because there's that scene when Superman he's dying from Nuclear Man's attack, and she comes and just kind of I don't know. She cries. She's not like a babbling mess of tears, but she's kind of venting out her feelings about Superman and deliver a message to him for me and all that stuff. And the way that sequence plays, it really plays like they kind of both know that they know the secret, without really taking that extra step.
She almost flat out says she doesn't, but she kind of does. She's like, how did I know you're going to be here?
Yeah.
And then says, I always know when Superman's in trouble.
Exactly, right?
So then it's like, basically saying, she doesn't actually say you're a Superman, but she kind of puts it there. That,
she might directly say, then he's a Superman, something happens to Superman,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. And I always took that, though, as that, like, he didn't take that step, so she respected that.
Right.
You know, and then like she said, she leaves him the cape. It's all there. So like you said, to have characters from Smallville act like that and do that, or those various characters that do know his identity. I wouldn't mind at this point if they did that with Perry White. If Perry White finally says, okay, enough's enough, put 2 and 2 together here, right? But he kind of plays it that way. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. They could introduce the Lana Lang character and have her take up that Superman 4.
Didn't really be introduced, but whatever.
Reintroduce her. I mean, as an adult actress character into the storyline or whatever, they could reintroduce her, and again, give her that Lois Lane in Superman 4. Give her that kind of thought process on everything. So it's like I said, I just thought that was tremendous. And again, to me, they're just doing a good job of setting all this up. It's just, or they did a tremendous job. It's all there.
So I did recently watch it with one of my friends. He was like, I don't know if he was in tears, but it seemed like he was going to be when Superman died. He was not expecting that to happen. He was like, no. But then the last thing I'll say about that, and I won't pay too much into details on it, but his overall thing, he loved it, and he immediately said he didn't see how anyone can not only, hate it, he didn't even see how people couldn't like it. That's how he came out of it. He's like, I don't see how people can hate it. I don't see how people can't like that movie.
That's why I said, I mean, for me, a good movie is a good movie, and you see what's good about it, unless you're just directly have some kind of an agenda to want to hate it, which is ironic because I went into the film with the particular agenda, attempting to really hate it, and then wound up loving it more than, anything I've seen in such a long freaking time. But I think we covered it all, finally. Got through it all.
Yeah. And not a moment too soon, because I have to...
Okay, let me just think of something real quick here. So, okay, and we're done.